In Canby, we welcome to our specially called meeting for our goal setting, and I am actually going to immediately recess so that the colleagues here and our counterparts, our leadership team behind us, can grab some dinner, and we will rejoin you in about 10 minutes. We're in recess. Okay, welcome back, Canby. We are going to get started on our goal-setting session, our specially called meeting for tonight, March 11th. I'm going to kick this over. Haha. It's not me today. I pulled a pattern. All right, I'm going to start over since my mic is now on. We're going to call to order the council specially called meeting for our goal setting, and I'm going to kick this over to our interim administrator, Randy. Get us started.
Okay, thank you, Council President. I think Mayor Hodson will be joining us here shortly, and so we are here tonight to host and facilitate with you all a working mini goal-setting session. Previously, you adopted two-year council goals and objectives, which we're going to work off of, and when we're ready, we'll put that up on the screen. So this would be considered a mini check-in, and then at the pleasure of the council, we may schedule a more lengthy goal-setting session, but you guys can have that discussion later tonight if you think that's important, or if you need that. I know there's varying opinions, so we landed on a mini check-in tonight, so we're going to work through that with you. The idea is to focus on your 5 stated goals, really zooming out and widening the aperture of what you have done and put on paper and where staff has made progress. It's kind of a step back and step up moment. Just take a high-level view and work through promoting financial stability, align resources to address future community growth, plan a transportation system that eases the impact of growth, develop a more robust parks and recreation program, and enhance engagement and communications that represent broader perspectives. As you'll recall, you have been what I call a working council as of late, doing a lot of long-range planning, which is critical to Canby. I can't believe that some of these documents you're working on were from 1981. In the case of your comprehensive plan, I wasn't even in high school in 1981, so that's a long time ago. Your UGB was last expanded in 2005. Your development code is over 30 years old, I'm told, and your TSP was from 2010. So kudos to all of you for leaning in and doing a lot of that work, which you'll hear updates on tonight, and I'm sure you'll have some questions. As we move through this, the directors, the leadership team is here up on the dais where you're normally sitting. So Mr. Todd Wood is here, our interim public works director, fleet and IT. Finance director Denise LaRue is here. Spencer is here from Public Works. Supervisor Don Hardy, your planning development services. Jamie Stickle, communications and economic development. And Marissa, great last name, Ely, is here, your fabulous library director. And they will come down. If you have questions of them, feel free. They're excited to share. I think I'll use that term loosely, excited to share out their progress with you because they have been doing some amazing work this year. So any questions before we begin? We want to just kind of dive right in. Time check, it's a little after 5. You've been having 2-hour meetings lately, so we'll keep us on pace, President Hensley, as we work through this, and we'll have some documents on the screen as we move forward. So your first goal that we wanted to check on tonight is a financial goal, promoting financial stability. There are 6 objectives, 7. We'll work through each of those as we move through. 6 objectives. First is consider updates to the city charter. So raise your hand if you're on the advisory committee for the city charter. There we go. Councilor Patton, Councilor Stearns. I believe Councilor Hensley is also involved.
Yes.
We are having a meeting coming up. I believe Maya just scheduled that for later in March, our second meeting.
18th, right?
The 18th? So next week. And this one is specifically meeting with the Canby Utility Board because they are conjoined with you all in the city's charter. Chapter 10. They have a major water project on the horizon, and there are some limitations on their bonding authority per the charter. So that'll be an update. That'll be a working session with you all with the General Manager of Canby Utility, Carrie Duncan, and Barb Benson will also be in attendance. I think they might bring a board member with them. As you know, you appoint the board, or mayor appoint the board, or count?
The mayor, and then it's ratified by the council.
Thank you, Council President. The other topics you've discussed are residency requirement and authority to purchase from city staff, and maybe taking a look at those two items as well. For this November election, it is no charge to the city to get on the ballot unless there's a tie, and then they have to do a recount, and that's $1,500. Thanks, Maya, for doing that research. So we'll have that in the budget for your review.
Okay.
Any questions on charter update? Okay. Finalize the transition of the current urban renewal district expenses. So we have a couple notes in here. Thanks to Jamie Stickle for all her work and research on this. It's been a team effort on terminating the collection of tax increment. We did send that letter to the county earlier in February, and that's what they need to return the tax increment to all of the taxing districts. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Stickle, but it's about 1.2 for the city's general fund? Million?
Yes, that was what the estimate was as of last November, so that will.
Yeah. And then the Canby Fire District, roughly $500,000. I don't have these numbers right in front of me as well. Before, and Ms. Stickle, feel free to come down if we have questions from the council on urban renewal. We have a meeting on March 18th at the City Urban Renewal Agency. I'm going to talk to Council President Hensley about that tomorrow during our meeting, where we'll consider a facade improvement grant that came through Jamie's office for a local business. And then Jamie is underway now with the 1.8 million First Street project design and bid for construction. Before, anything you would like to add before we take questions?
No, just that I was going to note that facade improvement application, it was for a property owner on First Avenue, and they are aware that that money will need to be spent by June 30th of 2026. So they've been alerted to that as far as the process goes.
Okay, Councilor Davis.
Thank you. So our goal was to stop spending out of those funds and to complete the First Street project. Why would we entertain a facade improvement? I mean, the goal was to complete that First Street, and that's the only discussion we had, to terminate this as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And to me, that meant we're not going to take additional applications for doing a facade improvement.
I did not get that message, but that's a good discussion for us next week. Councilor Davis, thank you. The only reason we're entertaining this is because that money is in the city's budget already. It's not like getting more from the tax districts. It's already there. We would rather spend it rather than send anything back to the county is staff's position, but welcome that conversation.
And it's in the budget specifically for facade improvement.
Okay,
It was not for, we're not taking out of the urban renewal projects. It was listed for facade improvement for this fiscal year. And so that's why the money would need to be spent by June 30th of this fiscal year.
So they know they have to do the project before the end of the fiscal year,
Yes.
or they don't get the money. They know this.
Yes, and that is all included in the staff report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that satisfy
It's not
your
additional
question,
dollars we're
Jim?
giving.
Sure, it does.
That's a
I'll be
good question.
voting no on the facade improvements, just so you know.
That's
but, you know, because I was opposed to it last time, and I'll be opposed to it this time as well.
Okay.
Okay.
This is the
Any
last
other
one.
questions about urban renewal? Or yes, Councilor Patton.
Has there been an analysis done to show that there is enough? Has there been an analysis done to show that there is enough money in what has currently been collected in taxes to cover the cost of the First Street project?
in communication with Kittleson and Associates, who is the engineer for that project. They are designing to the amount of money that we have available with contingency in there. So yes, there is enough money to cover the project, and they know what our budgetary constraints are as far as that goes.
Okay, because I will just say right now that I made it very clear that there was no point in putting the brakes on this until we knew that that money was there. If it ends up being short, I don't care if it's $10 short, I'm going to have a rip and fit, just so you know.
I agree with that.
They have been made aware from the time that the bid went out.
Okay. Any other questions on this
information.
urban renewal topic? Anything to offer from behind us? Okay, Randy, you can move on to the next item,
Okay.
and I'm going to turn over the meeting to the mayor.
Great, thank you. Sounds like I missed a riveting conversation, pardon my tardiness. Mr. Ely?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we're just working through your council goals and objectives of having a mini facilitated check-in on their 2-year goals, and just kind of working through them one by one. We are on financial stability, promoting financial stability, objective 1.3 now. We're moving on to addressing declining revenues for current transit operations and creating a sustainable budget. Mr. Wood is here. So if you have any questions on that, he's very aggressive in his grant seeking and the mix that he receives, federal and state, to operate the Canby area transit, including contracting out for the drivers. But one piece of exciting work that we're currently on is the headquarters facility project, and you guys have done a great job saving around $3.5 million already for that, and we put in for some federal earmarks recently to see if we can close that gap. So also looking at additional properties perhaps, which will keep under executive session, we'll keep the city council updated on that as that progresses. So, and I think we just get a couple new into the fleet. I saw maybe on some social channels, 4. So thank you for that.
So this continues to still be a goal for, yes, Councilor Patton.
So I guess my question is, the goal is address declining revenues for the Canby transit operations and create sustainable budget.
Yeah.
Based on this, it sounds like there are some concerns that we will be short. So I guess my question is, has there been any headway on what we can do to fill that gap? And if so, it sounds to me like this needs to continue to be a goal because we continue to be short on revenues, and and this doesn't really lay out, these are the A, B, and C's of how we're gonna fill that gap. Is that a fair assessment?
Sure. Let me give you all just a brief overview of what we're talking about. Today, we're fine. But I know for a fact that in the next biennium, I've already gotten the numbers from ODOT, we'll be losing $150,000 in revenue from the federal government at minimum. I don't know about, that's just from the rural transit. Usually we see an increase. We're all seeing a pretty heavy decrease. So for us, it's about $75,000 a year. The 5310 is becoming more competitive, so it'll be a fight to get any of that money, and that's about $90,000 a year for us right now in the next biennium. The State Transportation Improvement Fund, that's the stuff that comes out of everybody's paycheck. For us, they use some of it that's based on the Canby area, but also the Portland Metro. And as you are all fairly well aware, the Portland Metro area is seeing a fairly steep decline in employment. So their money is going down, and when their money goes down, my money goes down with it. Right now, so today we're okay. Next biennium, we're going to lose some money. Now, our system is fairly efficient. And we've already identified some areas. For instance, since our loop has come online, our dial-a-ride has dropped, and dial-a-ride is our most expensive service. So we've already cut down from 25 hours a day to 20 hours a day. And we can cut that down further as revenues decline. So we've already identified that. We've also identified some less efficient services on the 99X that can help us reduce if we need to. Some service there, because most of our expenses come from buses on the road. And then outside of that, the best way to gain revenues is more businesses in Canby, right? The more businesses we can attract to Canby, the more payroll tax we get. And then, of course, if push really came to shove, the payroll tax that is controlled by the city council can be increased. I'd like that to be like the last, we're gonna lose the system resort type thing, because it does affect all the businesses that work here. But that's kind of where we're at. So we are definitely looking at declining revenues. Right now, we're okay, and we may be okay next biennium as well, but if this trend continues, at some point, we're not gonna be okay. And if we hit a major economic downturn, our system is completely tied to the economy of the city of Canby. So if the city of Canby tanks, so does transit. And you saw that all in 2011, so you know what happens, and that'll happen again. So, go.
Okay. So, Todd, I guess, building off of the Councilor Patton's question,
Yeah.
I mean, and throughout, right, we talk about declining revenues, and all we do is provide services. And our main, talk about $75,000 over each of the next 2 years, or more.
Yeah.
Based on STIF and what you and I know, and Council President Hensley with going to C4 in that conversation. Other than increasing the payroll tax here in the city of Canby, which, again, it's not been touched for 10 years?
20, it's never been touched. Since you took over the system, it was 6 per thousand then, it's 6 per thousand today.
Okay, so it's never been touched.
Right.
What other revenue streams are there for us to look into and to entertain to create this goal of a sustainable budget for
Yeah, there's
CAT?
not, most of them be grant-based, and grants is where we're seeing the decline. Outside of that, it's the increase in economic activity in the city will increase transit's budget. Right now, our city is doing fairly well. My transit payroll tax is coming in at about 2.1 million, which is a nice bump from what it has been in the past. So that's the best, honestly, that is the absolute best way to increase our revenue, is to increase jobs, the number of jobs in the city. I keep my eye out for grants. They're becoming less and less as time goes on, as the government itself is hurting, ODOT is hurting, and the federal government's paring back. So if they pause the gas tax, which there's been talk of them doing, that's really gonna hurt. Because that's where our 5311 money comes from, is the state highway tax, or the federal highway tax. So there isn't a lot. It's not, it is a public service for a reason. It's not a money building service, so.
Yes, Councilor Warman.
So these are like goals and objectives. And so usually goals are something that we want to accomplish and move on to another goal. So in order to do that, it sounds to me like the goal is to create a sustainable budget. What is the definition of a sustainable budget, and how do we know if we've reached it or not? And if we have, do we move on to something else?
Great question.
We have it today, so. But looking forward to the future, it's not looking so great.
So
what does that look like is the question, right?
yeah, so how do we know, what is the criteria for the sustainable budget?
The criteria should be, what is the base level of service this city wants to provide its residents? Because at the base level of service, you're going to have a constant cost. I mean, the cost will go up over time, but we don't want to drop below this service. So we want to make sure that whatever budget we have always maintains at least this level of service. And we're pretty close to that right now. Like I said, there are some efficiencies that we can build in. I can reduce the amount of dial-a-ride service we provide because it's not being utilized. Once you get down to about 16 hours, then you start hitting what is being utilized and start denying people service. And then there's some inefficiencies on the 99X, especially on the Woodburn side. They're not terribly inefficient, but you have fewer riders that can be trimmed. But outside of that, we're getting pretty close to what I would call the base level of service we have. So the question is, what does that take to maintain that? And right now, I think it's around, I want to say around $2.4 million, give or take. So, but that is going to go up about 3 to 5% a year.
So I guess from a goal standpoint, it sounds like an ongoing operational review and adjustment. I'm not sure that it's necessarily still a goal, because it sounds like we're never really going to achieve it. So I guess my question is this something that stays on a goal list?
Or reworded.
Yeah.
Okay. Council President Hensley?
Yeah, to Councilwoman's point, I was kind of along the same track there. As a goal-setting piece, it sounds like we've achieved the goal of addressing the issue, and now it's just an ongoing budgetary monitoring thing. So I think that we can probably take this piece off of the goal-setting sheet and just move it to Todd to keep monitoring it in the budget process. And if my colleagues are okay with that, I think we just check that off the box.
What about breaking it into two? 1.3A and 1.3B?
Meaning?
Addressing declining revenues for transit operations, 1.3A, and then create sustainable budget, 1.3B. We've addressed for right now, 1.3B, the sustainable budget is being addressed, but not the declining revenues.
Todd, how do you feel about that?
Well, what I would say, and it's not my
Jason.
goals, it's your goals, but I would say you could probably strike it off for now. And when the problem actually arose its ugly head to where we have to do something, then put it on there, but that's kind of up to you. I think we have a pretty good handle on it today, right? And the problem is we're trying to predict the future. And I can't, right now it doesn't look horrible. We have to make some adjustments to our system. But tomorrow the economy could crash and then it's horrible, right? But we could readdress it at that point.
Or it could go up.
It could go up. It could. We could boom tomorrow, and then we could talk about where else we want to spend money. That's always a possibility.
Councilor Stearns?
Yeah.
No, it sounds to me like what I think as far as a good goal would be for the council and for the city would be to firmly establish those minimum standards that we want to accomplish and maybe establish a standard for scalability. So for example, if we're short, does the loop go down one less time or does or one less bus or how we're going to establish scalability and what our desired minimum services, and then if there's a shortfall, we already have a plan that conforms with what the city still wants to do. So I think to address the issue of cost problems or potential uncertainty in cost, I think the key is what are our minimum goals and what are our options for scalability. And I think those two things are addressed, and I think the problem's solved, and we can check off the list as long as there's uncertainty as far as what do we want to accomplish with the money. Then will always be a question of is there enough money out there for it.
And I, staff response briefly, I think that this conversation translates to a number of services that we provide at the city. Looking at our library director, we've had this conversation about levels of service, planning with our building, and so some of this will translate well for the upcoming budget to talk about what kind of level of service can we afford, and to use your word, scalability.
So what do we scale? What are the options? What do we scale? Because obviously we, as a council, probably have priorities of things that we don't want to cut back, and some things that might say, obviously if we have enough money for everything, we get everything, but I don't have enough money personally for everything, so I have to scale.
Councilor Patton.
So I will say this. When I read this, this goal has not been achieved. In fact, this goal hasn't even been started. Because until Todd or whoever sits in that seat and says that we have enough revenue to look out into the future and have everything we want taken care of, then that means that there's a problem. And if the council as a whole decides they want to remove this, then that's one thing. But to say that we're going to remove it because we've achieved it, I think is a joke. And I would not agree with that.
Okay. Councilor Warren?
Yeah, I think the main point is after going through the process here, is this even a realistic, achievable goal? And so, as written. So if we want to change it to something else, I think that's fine, but I think as written, it's basically just saying, you know, what are we going to do if we don't have enough money? And it sounds like, to me, like you already have a plan for that. You're already addressing that.
Yeah, we already have I think Heidi and I have done a really good job at looking at our inefficiencies and being prepared for what's coming and being able to keep a pretty decent level of service on the road. But you know, who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. And we're always trying to plan.
We're not going to somehow sock away $2 million in the bank account in case, you know. Right.
Yeah, we'll do a deeper dive during budget. Messages received. Right now, operationally, Todd's done a great job. The annual revenue is 3.8 million against operational expenses
Now he
of
has his money.
3.2 million. So you're 500,000 to the better right now as we sit here today.
Yeah,
But
and
there are other things.
some of those operational expenses are
Personnel,
not-
material, and services.
We have some set aside for capital expenses that
Yep.
aren't going to continue.
Yeah, that's down there too. So that doesn't involve capital, just
So
operation.
we have some cushion. We're actually doing
Yeah.
okay because we haven't gone crazy. I'd like to go crazy. I have some great ideas.
Yeah.
But
Council President?
Yeah, to the point of whether or not this is achieved or whether it's an ongoing or if it's even achievable, just a general note in our goal setting, I don't think we've been very good at making smart goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, you know, relevant and time bound. We're not doing that. We need to apply that to our methods when we're making a goal so that we don't have this conversation about did we achieve it or not. I think we need to be more specific about our goal setting in the first place going forward.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
If that's the case, then I think what we need to do is we need to set what the goal criteria are. Because whenever I have done this exercise, it has been, we have short-term goals and we have long-term goals because this is a council that changes every couple of years and we want things to stay on the table. If the decision is that we are only making goals that are achievable in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever, then I totally am for that. But at this point in time, some of these goals are ones that are done now and some of them are done later.
Yes.
And I'm good with that. Time bound doesn't mean 6 months. Time bound could be 6 years. I'm just saying we should set parameters around the goal we make. So did we achieve this goal within a year? No, we didn't. We keep going. Do we tweak the goal and move on? Or it's achieved what we wanted to get done in 6 months or a year or whatever that time bound piece we put on it. I agree. We should have short-term, mid-term, long-term goals, but we should attach some specific parameters around. We want this done in this way by this time. Boom, next goal. So that we have more things that we can measure, and then when we're in a meeting like this, we're like, well, did we do what we said we were gonna do? It's a little easier to measure that way.
Yeah, for me, I see that as another column in this that literally has the bullet points of what those objectives are.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, you can't argue or it's not a fuzzy idea. It's literally written right there.
Yeah.
Did we achieve it or not?
And I thought that was in one of the other documents. Is that not something we have done in the past?
I thought so. I thought we had said a couple, short-term, mid-range, and long-term. I thought that was a conversation we had.
Maybe that, I'm
Yeah,
not
I see
sure.
some of these objectives as guiding principles, but they're broken down to a goal. Yes, financial stability is an ongoing principle, but it's, like I said, I suggested earlier, one way of changing that goal to something that you could measure, is just to say, is there a plan? What is the plan for potential budget shortfalls, and how we're going to scale it, and what we won't scale? I would say that would be a better goal. That would be very measurable, but you could still keep the principle and saying, keep transit solvent is a good principle, you know, and then how we achieve that could be something like a specific goal. Like, I think then you could say, if we want to put a date by September 27th, we have, you know, that plan in place or whatever, because that's how that could be rephrased, so that you can have the goal and then you can still keep the ongoing principle, because, you know, yeah, we always want to keep it solvent, I think. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further on this one right
Move
now?
on.
So are we reworking that? What are we doing with this one?
I don't know, you guys tell me.
I think that's the decision, is are we reworking this, or are we removing it?
You suggested breaking it into two pieces.
No, again, making a suggestion. I mean,
Yeah.
Wow.
it keeps them,
What do people think?
and so maybe it's not taking off 1.3B as being completed in terms of that, create a sustainable budget. And so do we want a sustainable budget being a 5-year sustainable budget, a 6-year? Do we want to put a time limit on it? Do we just leave it as it is as a long-range goal?
Do we not want a sustainable budget in every department, though?
Here's a thought. I'm going to throw this era out here as a thought for tonight. Like the first two goals we went through, those are on track to be accomplished soon. This one clearly needs some more work. Rather than getting bogged down on this one for the rest of the evening, perhaps any goals that we say need to be reworked or whatever, we put on the bubble, and then there's a future meeting that is scheduled to do that work. So tonight, just go through this, figure out what's on track, what's not, if it needs to shift. And then the next meeting will be, these are the 1, 5, 8 goals that were pulled out that need rework. That's just my suggestion.
I already drew a bubble around it. I can do a bubble.
I'm seeing head nods that will.
I think we're in agreement that
Okay.
this goal could
Thank you,
be
Councilman Patton.
rewritten.
Yeah, so this one's on.
I will draw bubbles now.
Bubbles.
Okay.
1.3 is a bubble.
Okay. 1 point,
Thanks.
promote, so still under promoting financial stability, 1.4. Determine the future of the former Canby Adult Center building. Status, Mr. Ely?
Yeah, Canby Adult Center, we've got 2 facilities, as you know, that are on the school district property out over there. We're doing some minor upgrades to the swim center right now, just some remodeling of dressing rooms essentially. But when it comes to Canby Adult Center, I just got off the phone with Clackamas County and their community development block grant program. And the adult center is receiving approximately $300,000 this year for their new facility, kitchen upgrades, as you may recall.
Yep.
But the application CDBG process, thank you, Marissa, is coming up due in November, and Canby has been invited to make application for the next cycle. So start thinking about projects that you might want to see. Sorry, we got a little activity outside, it looks like.
Just
Not a problem with
My
me.
Brian's being mom out there. She's good.
So that's coming due, and I think there's gonna be a county commission lean towards affordable housing projects, or money to help with affordable housing. Particularly, could even do some sidewalks that are in areas that could use more walkability and sidewalks. So that was a good discussion. Back to this topic, the Canby Adult Center. You all, Councilor Davis, you are the liaison. I think you just met with them. I don't know if they brought anything up that's time relevant, but we are gonna have to make a decision as a council, mayor, on what to do with that, and include the school district in those conversations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had our board meeting today, and the director, Kathy Robinson, did state that they're at least April of next year is what they anticipate for moving into their new facility. So we still have some time to, make decisions on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so you got
So we have till
a year or
April.
less to figure it out. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that one's not accomplished, but we'll accomplish it later. It's well-defined.
Yeah.
We'll know when we accomplished it.
Well, I do think that fortunately, we've got on some ongoing decisions or
Yeah.
communications with the school district. And so that does allow us, because I think based on however those discussions go, then we can make some decisions on what the future of that building might be.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
So I think with this one, and this is just my opinion, that the adult center building needs anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million put into it to get it up to snuff, to have other people be in there, especially with the seismic and the windows, and the big one is the kitchen. We've just been talking about the kitchen, right? It's a hot mess over there. To me, I think part of this goal should be that by December of this year, if we don't, we need to have a decision made. So that way we have the decision before that building is vacant. And what I will advocate for is that if the school has not sold us the property by December, then they're either welcome to purchase the building from us and give us a rent credit towards the land that the pool is sitting under, or the building disappears. And we see about renegotiating our lease with them to have that amount of land taken out of the rental. Because otherwise, I see nowhere in the budget where we are going to come up with the money to make those changes. So that is the way, when we talk about this, that is how I'm looking at it.
Yes, Councilor Waterman.
So we've been talking about this quite a bit since in the year that I've been here, and it's been before. So I don't disagree with Councilor Patton's decision. My question is does he just make a motion to say, hey, is this what we think we could do so we can get something voted on and get something on paper to say, this is what this is the goal? So that we're not sitting here in December going, what did we talk about in April? What was the final goal? I mean, because we talk about them a lot, but we never actually seem to finalize on what it is we want to do.
Well, I think that's a fair question. I mean, by the sounds of it, Councilor Patton's put out there a goal.
Okay.
That the council needs to make a decision.
By December.
Yeah,
by December.
And
by December, and what
which
is
means
that?
we need to talk about it before December.
No, absolutely. I mean, that can very well be an agenda. We would
We need a work
make
session on
it a separate work session and then an agenda item. Yeah, because it seems like there's.
But do we need
Your
any
point,
other
Paul.
do we need any other additional information than what we have right now to make that decision? I'm not saying we need to make it right now, but is there anything else we need to tell anybody to go do, or?
Mr. Ely?
I defer, Mayor, to you. You've been heavily involved in conversations with the school district, but I think Councilor Waterman, that would be good information for us to have before we make a decision.
Well, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, the suggestion is, if we don't get the property purchased, or we're not able to purchase the property by December, doesn't matter what we know about the school now. If they don't make the decision by then, we know that our direction is, this is what we're going to do come that time. So do we need any other additional information to make that decision?
I agree with what Jason's goal is for that, make a decision by December. But with that said, yes, there's information that we still have to have from the school district, number one. And then number two is having our facilities look at that and give us a budget to what we need to do to the building if we make that decision to stay in the building. I know that the adult center has made fire suppression system upgrades to the building already, but there's other things that we have to take into consideration, including the usage, because there's some very large freezers and refrigerators and things like that that are currently being used. So we also have to determine what the usage of that building would be if we decided to keep it.
So part of this goal then sounds to me like verifying some, like on paper or something, other than the 1.5 that we feel we know right now, verify on paper what the upgrade cost would be.
Yes.
Okay.
Not only
So
upgrade
that's-
cost, but what would the demolition cost be if we decided to go that route? So we can have a decision and say, it's, $2 to demolish it and $1 to fix it, and then we can make a
So
decision
there's
that way.
two check boxes on that.
I do know that, having been on that board, Facilities has done a really good job with the upkeep to the best of their ability of that building, but also letting the adult center know potentially what has fallen apart too, and what needs to be improved. But they've done a good job, and I'm sure they can give us updated information on that.
So, to me, it seems like maybe, Randy,
Yes, sir.
to further enhance this goal or come to a direction on this goal, sounds like demo costs. And if we were to, are we really at $1 million or $1.2 million or $1.5 million?
Renovation costs versus
What?
demolition costs.
I just laughed because the last time we had this conversation, we asked for what the demo cost of this building would be. We've been talking about all of these costs for over a
did we
year.
get it?
told us.
And we never got it.
was
So,
the other
yeah,
But we're setting a goal now.
we are gonna do it, yes. Even if I have to be out there with a hammer and a chainsaw. That building is coming down.
I love
Jason's gonna rent a bulldozer.
Hey,
and do it
city
himself.
fundraiser, pay $1, take a swing.
It's one of those smash rooms. There you go.
I like where you're going.
Let's make sure all the glass is taken out first.
Oh, that's
and
the
then-
fun, that's the fun
Well,
stuff to break.
I'm sure our insurance, who's our risk management person here? I'm sure they'd have a field day with us on that one. No, but I mean, yes, we have been asking for it. We haven't gotten it. So I think we need to get it so that we
Okay.
can then, as a
On
group,
it.
determine, great, maybe it's not $1.5 million, maybe it's less than that. And even then, it's an 800,000. Do we still want to pull the trigger and make the remodel into that? But then, what then? What's the goal after that? So let's think about what if you sink the money into it, and now we have the building. It's still on school district land. What does it become?
That's
Councilor Patton, then I'll come to you, Councilor Davis.
Would it be possible to have that information put together by the end of June? At the latest.
I think we can get some estimates.
I think if we set a goal to have that information to us by the end of June, then we can stay on track with the conversations that will come after that and those decisions. Because if the school, something has been mentioned about the school, and this could have been like a fever dream of mine, that the school was interested in maybe purchasing the building. And if that's the case, we need to make sure that that is vetted out before December.
Because they have so much money.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they're not willing to purchase anything. They need to be selling stuff. They need to have a fire sale quick.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you. I think setting the goal of by December is the right direction to go, getting those cost estimates by the end of June on what the options are. But the other big piece is we have to determine if we chose to keep that building. That falls into the big goal as far as the usage, whether or not we're able to purchase the land and or the sports facility or the sports fields and things like that, which are ongoing discussions, and that's the larger goal. What would that usage be if we're able to somehow purchase that?
Any comments from our directors on this topic? No? Feel free. Yeah. Don? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
We can do that. June, cost estimates, in December, check back in,
Actually, not check back in, decision.
decision from council.
By December. Decision.
Yes.
Yes.
December 1st, December 15th.
End of month, December's fine with me. I never know. Christmas, what the meetings will be.
All right, item 1.5, develop a plan to fund current and expanded library services. Mr.
I'll
Healy.
pause while Marissa makes her way.
I'm just going to preemptively give you some information and maybe answers to any questions if you had any.
Awesome.
Otherwise, I'll answer other questions. There we go, okay. Okay, so there's two main pieces to this goal that I can give you updates on. One, I was one of two library directors who served on the Library District Task Force that ran from June to October of 2025. And we basically were tasked with identifying and providing recommendations for issues facing the library district as a whole. Basically, a couple things that came out of that, those task force meetings was distribution formula, looking at that, trying to make it more equitable so the libraries who need more get more. We talked about looking at boundary lines. We also talked about just generally addressing funding disparities within the district. And at the end of that task force, all of those meetings, the city managers, I'm not going to include Randy because he was very new at the time. The city managers wrote a letter saying that they did not have an appetite for any of this work with the task force to move forward. They said, and the no appetite was actually exact wording, but they said that they do not hear from their library directors or their communities about issues within their libraries. They hear about other issues. So therefore, they basically stopped the task force meetings and we did not move forward. Really, they said that there was no appetite to go out for a vote for additional funding or to make any changes anytime soon. And we were talking about the next 10 years and there was no appetite for that. So that didn't go anywhere. I did put a lot of work and effort into that task force, especially because I was repping the more rural library directors. I was not just representing Canby. So that was really important to me. And it really just showed that there is a big disconnect between the smaller libraries and the bigger libraries. The bigger libraries can provide more, the smaller libraries need more and can't provide more because we don't have enough. So there's one. And then the second piece is I recently went through all of the Oregon Library Association public library standards. I went through those myself and then I went through them with the Library Advisory Board. I found that we are meeting 87.5% of the essential threshold minimum standards. The good news is to get to 100%, like 75 to 80% of what we need to get done does not have anything to do with the budget, and I will be able to accomplish that with my staff group, hopefully this year.
Wow.
The missing piece, though, is really all dependent on budget, and it has to do with staffing. First of all, we do not have a bilingual librarian anymore since 2019, and this is a really big deal because in those standards, if you have more than 10% of a population that speaks a different language, you should have a bilingual staff member.
What was that percentage?
10%?
And we're 24% Hispanic.
Yeah, we're much higher than that. So we do not have a bilingual librarian, and that has been a really big deal. That is something that I did work with the leadership team and Randy on applying for some of those federal earmarked dollars for at least a bilingual librarian for 2 years. We'll see how that shakes out. The other piece is a couple other items, including increasing open hours. And I think I told you all this last year. I cannot increase open hours without more staffing. That's just how it goes. So really when it comes down to it, we can get most of these standards met, but the few that we cannot are all budget dependent, and it's having a bilingual librarian and staff to carry out extra hours. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on this goal. It's not shaken out too well right now, but I'm still planning to work on it and see what we can do to continue providing service to the community.
You could,
Yes, Councilor Stearns.
well, my question is about the bilingual librarian does a bilingual librarian cost more than a monolingual librarian? I mean, because, I mean, I don't know, because I'm bilingual, and I don't know that anybody pays me more because I'm bilingual, although it's useful a lot of times, but in the community, there's a lot, I mean, that could be accomplished, I think, with just more selective hiring next time an opening comes up or whatever to accomplish that, but I don't know why it's more expensive.
Are you needing an additional FTE?
Or you need another librarian who happens to be bilingual?
We need a bilingual in Spanish librarian, period. Back in 2019, when we had lost our original librarian, we did go out to try to hire somebody, and we had a couple different applications that came in. None were bilingual in Spanish. And so one of the biggest issues is pay. So there is a 5% boost if you speak a different language, and in this case, it would have to be Spanish. Now, the problem here is that a lot of people do not know that librarians have to have master's degree, a bilingual
When you say
librarian
a bilingual librarian, you mean a bilingual librarian, not somebody who works at the library who's bilingual?
It's the actual position, bilingual librarian, and they have to have a master's degree, and they have to be fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
And those are difficult to come by depending on pay and whatnot. And it's one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to hire for a library assistant that has the Spanish speaking background, because the chances of us actually getting that position filled, but also getting our needs met, are pretty slim. We need a librarian who can do very specific work with the community. And if we were to hire a library assistant, for example, that is a Spanish speaker, there's a lot that they could not do still because it would be out of their class. That's why we need a librarian.
Okay, no, I was curious about that aspect. Obviously, more hours means more people, because that's a no-brainer there.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Davis.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you're doing a great job in the library, so keep up the good work with that. The other part is, you've read this goal. Do you think it's an achievable one, or does this fall into the same pool as the transit one, where we go through the budget process and you bring your proposals into the budget process, depending on how we're doing through the budget?
The latter, absolutely. I think this is it's a very nebulous goal, so I've been trying to kind of interpret it in the ways that I think make the most sense. But really, when it comes down to it, it has a lot to do with budget. So I would say, yeah, the latter.
I'm wondering if we do the same thing with this as we did with the transit.
Agreed.
I think it would be good. Again, I'd like to see the city have a policy of basic standards, which I think you have an idea of, and scalability if funds go short, a plan for both.
So the bubble is what I'm hearing for, okay? Yes, Councilor Patton.
I just want to let people know that, many of us, including myself, want to see the library succeed and improve. The problem is the funding. And that I would love to roll a wheelbarrow full of cash into the library as soon as I got it, from wherever we can get it. And it's just a matter of finding where that, maybe a small wheelbarrow of cash exists so that we can do that.
Yeah.
And at our budget meeting, you'll have prepared for us like what this position would cost.
I already have it. Yeah.
Because I think we need to know that as well.
Yeah.
So we know how big of a wheelbarrow we might need.
Exactly.
And by adding this position itself, does that enable you then to expand hours? Are we able to get a 2-for-1 out of this?
Sort of. The other issue with this, like I said, is staffing. I wouldn't need an extra staff member, but I would need extra hours for my 3 part-time staff to actually be able to open another day. So, Sundays. We're one of the few libraries that are closed on Sundays, and it's a very big community need.
What are the daily operating costs of the building, or of the library?
I couldn't give you a daily operating cost. It just, generally, we have to have 2 people at the reference desk, and we have to, gosh, let me see if I can even pull a number. I remember, sorry, Randy, I remember a couple years ago, a library advisory board member had asked me how much it would cost for the entire year to open Sundays, and it was about 400,000 then
Okay.
for the entire year.
And what year was that?
I would say this was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So,
No, that helps me. It
yeah,
just kind of,
2024.
in my mind, think like adding a day and then, and that, within that 400,000, was that the salary of?
That was with everything, and the good news is in order to open an extra day, we really have no other costs except personnel. That's the only thing that we need to open extra hours.
That's just to open for Sundays.
Sundays.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Patton?
So just so I have my head wrapped around this right, you have the bodies to do it. It's just some of those bodies need to have more hours, more FTE time to be able to do the work.
If I was able to increase the hours for my 3 part-time staff and get a bilingual librarian, because the other piece of this is having what we call a person in charge.
Yeah.
Only librarians can do that, library assistants can't, and that's the majority of my staff.
So 3 part-times to full-time.
2 to full-time, 1 only wants a couple extra hours.
Okay, 2 to full-time and a bilingual librarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did some, just so I can share with everyone else what I shared with Merritt, I did some quick math on your 400,000 for Sundays for a year, 2 years ago was up roughly 7,700 a month. Given inflation, we're talking about $8,000 a month to be open on Sundays.
A month? So my math, which I am not a finance director, and I just reviewed the total operating expenses for the library, which is personnel and materials and services in your budget, is 1.48 million. So you round that up to 1.5 million a year to operate the library. If you're open 300 days a year, you asked the question, Mayor, how much per day? That scratches out to $5,000 a day.
How much?
5,000.
Okay.
I took the operating expenses and divided by 300. If you're open 300 days a year, I don't know how many days we're open because we're not open 1 day a week. Excuse me. So anyway, that could be wrong math, so don't quote me on that. I'm doing this on the fly. But you asked how much it costs to operate your library per day.
Okay.
That's simple math. We'll dig deeper into that for the budget process, though.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes, Councilor Davis.
And so again, going back to the goal, I think we're getting into the budget rather than the goal. I think we just, like you said, it's nebulous at this point. But what do we want to do with that? Do we want to move it to the bubble?
Yeah, I think we determined that that's a bubble conversation.
Yeah, circle that. Great.
Okay.
Great.
Marissa, thank you so much. Item 1.6, adjust system development charges. We've been having a lot of dialogue on that. We are moving forward on that, and we do have an end date, I think, anticipated. Is Don here?
He's
there
making
he
his
is.
way down. He's a busy man.
And the fact he still has his red hair is impressive.
Yeah.
The hair
I found out
is still
today's-
there for now.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and dive right in if you'd like me to on this goal.
Yeah.
So as you all know, we've been spending a lot of time on the parks piece of this. The other parts are fairly well ready to go. We are very, very close, I believe. We'll be going to Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee next Tuesday to get their input on the 20-year parks list. We'll be coming back to council on March 25th with crossing our fingers that we'll have the final list for parks, and that's the last piece of the equation here. That will set this methodology in place, and SDCs are a bit weird. They have like different noticing processes than anything else. Then we have to have that system development charge methodology released, and we would put that on our website 60 days before the first hearing for council. And so that probably is going to be about mid-April. So we're looking probably at the July 1 hearing for council. I know Randy would love to do it sooner. Possibility might be the last hearing in June for council. And then there'll be a second reading, and again, SDCs being unique, there's no 30-day waiting period, and after the second reading, they can become immediately effective. all the stuff that we'll talk about during the hearing process, I mean, I think we're working through that. We've talked about the phasing of the STCs over 3 or 5 years. Those pieces obviously would be still in discussion until the council made that decision on that. But I'm hoping that the parks piece of that, we're solid on where we're landing on that, and so we can move this forward. STCs are, I guess, part of this process of doing the comprehensive plan and transportation system plan. It's actually advantageous that we're doing that because it's showing what those 20-year projects are, and similarly on the park side of things, revisiting that and saying what are those priorities, and they do change over time. There would be an amendment to the parks list, Parks Master Plan list, and that would be the first vote for council if that's July 1, and then the second vote would be the SDC portion of that. So that's where we're at. We're getting very close to this. I know there's a lot of concern about sensitivity on housing prices. We've tried to address that as well. And we'll have more conversation on March 25th with you all about some of those other pieces. The main objective is to get the consultant the direction so we can do the draft methodology and release that. And then 60 days after that, we can do the hearing. So that's where we're at. I'm happy to entertain questions.
Okay. We own this goal.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
It's almost ready.
I'd like to check this off the list, so next year it's not on there. And I'll dive right into the next one if you all are ready for housing production strategy.
Yeah.
The Department of Land Conservation and Development, we did receive a conditional approval letter from them on February 4th. The conditions, we believe, they're minor in their nature. Randy and I were just talking about this today, and there is some additional strategy refinement, so to speak, that Department of Land Conservation and Development is asking for, in particular related to the potential of displacement. And what is meant by that is if there's housing that's affordable or more affordable and new development goes in and removes those housing units, that there's sensitivity to both those tenants, those residents that are there, and even looking at things like, could there be some compensation where we could, in exchange for the units that are removed, do things like waiver or partial waiver of system development charges in exchange for a long-term contract that would say that rents would be set at a certain price point. So there's a bit more to this. Again, these are strategies that'll be implemented over 4 years. Everything will go back through council. But we're working through that list of items that DOCD provided to us. I would say we probably have been more favorably treated, even though we have these conditions, and many other jurisdictions have actually received denials on their housing production strategies and have had much longer lists, including Happy Valley and Malala, on their processes. So I think we're very close to the end on this. I do think this is more of a refinement, working through the stuff with Randy right now. And if we go to hearing, I think it probably will be April 1 with, again, fingers crossed that we are in agreement with Department of Land Conservation and Development on the changes that they are asking us to make. That was a lot, I'm sorry.
No, but
Okay.
again, another one that we've been working on towards all of our comp plan and UGB stuff, so yes.
So I just want to say, I think one of the reasons why we're going to be able to check this goal off is because, and Don had mentioned some of the other cities that did not get as favorable of a outcome of what they sent in as we did. And it's a testament to the fact that we tend to be a skoogey group and sometimes a little hard to drill into our heads. This is the process. But Don has been very firm with us to say, you're welcome to make these changes, but I don't think it's going to fly. And for the most part, we've all gotten on board with that. And I think that has a testament to your being able to push back on us, and us being willing to make those exceptions have gotten us to the point that we're at. And so I think it's kudos all around for that.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you?
Well, I think this looks like it might be done. Well, I mean, we'll keep it on the list, but I think we could cross it off. Davis is locked out now. I was just curious, and I mean, is there a definition for affordable housing? What is it on affordable? I mean, it sounds like it's a term of art. I mean,
And it's generally,
Subjective.
I mean, it sounds very
There's-
subjective to anybody listening, but it sounds like it's something very precise.
There is.
To somebody who's at the land board.
there's medium family income, and it's related to housing prices and rental prices. And so that medium family is the bookend, and it is challenging to even hit sometimes the median family income. And there's low, there's medium, and then there's high. Generally, those are the categories. It's a bit more granular than that, but there is actually indexes. And so it's the price of rent versus the medium family income, and the price of a mortgage versus the medium family
A
income.
medium or median?
Medium, not.
Are we talking about the statistical median or the?
I believe you're correct, median family income, yeah.
So,
Not
no, the reason why I say that is because every time we talk about affordable housing, at least I think everybody has a different idea of what that looks like in their mind. And if it'd be more helpful if there was if we just say, we want affordable housing, and not necessarily say we want affordable housing. We say we want housing with rent of $1,375 per month. So, I mean, that's kind of much more nebulous, not as nebulous as like affordable. What is that?
And there's usually not that quite a precision, so the indexes are something like 30 to 50% MFI, 50 to 80% MFI, 80 to 120% MFI. So they're bookend like that, so you have a bit of a range. So that's more of the part of it, because there really is some dynamics of building construction, and it's very difficult to hit that exact price point. I'm not sure if any developer could do that. If you said this is the exact amount, I'm not sure they could do that. So there's a range within those.
Okay, well, I won't take too much time on this, on that subject, but I'm just wondering if we approach that again, that if you say something like, this is what we mean.
What's the range?
The range, so that when we're approving a house that's affordable, it's like, to whom? My son or me or?
Great question, and as we get into the discussions, we'll be bringing that forward.
So,
You want to stay here? I'm going to let her take the mic here.
well, hang on. I know Jamie's next. Is that?
Yeah, but we've got to keep Don here too, because there's a bunch.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Together.
So Don can't, you
I
can't
was
go.
looking
I know
at
you're
you're going, it's the Don and Jamie
Yeah,
show here
right.
for the next couple of blocks.
It's gonna get chatty.
Yeah, don't let him go. Then he has to come back down.
Anything else, Mayor, on that goal?
No, I don't.
You good?
So I think, again, we're in processes, we're moving through the comp plan stuff, and that's when all that stuff's gonna come to completion, is when, I think when we finally deliver those components to the big piece. So, I think for now, it stays on course.
We're almost there. Rounding third base, headed for home.
All right, 2.2, evaluate options for recruiting a hotel developer.
Did you want to take this one?
Economic development.
Just kidding. And so just as a reminder, in March of last year, before you was a discussion about potential hotel incentives, and we listed a lot of different options. Some of them included system development charge credits, or some potential for working on updating land, the potential for exploring what kind of land was out there to purchase. And then during the budget process of last year, we talked about two different items that we put into the budget for this year, which one of them was a room night generator study, and that's something that we heard directly from developers that would be something that they would like to see. And that really starts to do a deeper dive on not just, oh, you have a fairgrounds and event center, but asking the fairgrounds and event center through a survey how much information or how many hotel rooms that they can expect. Same thing with our industrial businesses. And then also some other research that should be finished by late March. And then we also included, as part of those budget conversations, hotel design concept planning. And bless you, the work began at the end of February with Scott Edwards Architecture. So that's underway as well.
Okay. Counselor Davis.
So
Shocked.
yeah, me too. So what do we do with that information once you receive it?
Well, they will both be presented here, but they're both going to be aided when we talk to developers or site selectors, hoteliers. My thought was with the reason that we started to move into the hotel design concept planning work is that being able to see a picture and starting to imagine what can happen is something that you see in private development. Imagine putting your business here or something like that. And so as a way that we can really start to attract and get people thinking about, if I was to put a hotel in Canby, this is what it could look like. This is where utilities would be and those kinds of things. So we'll use it as a marketing tool as we continue those conversations.
Okay, and are we doing outreach to any hotels at this point?
Well, we have ongoing outreach to hotels and ongoing discussions as well, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, at the State of the City address with the chamber, there was somebody representing one of the hotels in Wilsonville, the company, and connected with Jamie just as learn more about what was going on in Canby.
I was just at the tourism conference in Portland, the Oregon Governor's Conference on Tourism, and somebody from the Hilton Garden Inn was there. So continuing to have that engagement, even if it's just at the staff level, so that as that conversation moves up, that there's support there of, yes, we know Canby, we're excited about them, there's opportunities there. I think having two different hotels engaged with our Chamber of Commerce is a very smart thing, because it helps them to see the amount of, how often, if you think about it, your friends, your family, or strangers, when they come to Canby or they visit Canby and they go, there's a lot going on here. And I think having people engaged even at that Chamber of Commerce level to be able to say, wow, there is a lot going on there. And that conversation does get out. And Canby is, I don't think that there's anybody that's saying it's not ripe for development for a hotel. It's that, the pieces need to come together as far as the financing goes. And, we don't have necessarily a chunk of land in a prime spot that we can turn over to somebody as public-private partnership or something along those lines. So,
and is that what you're running into, Jamie? The feedback is that there's just not the perfect piece of land? No,
it is about the financing pieces that need. So as anytime interest rates go down, that's helpful. It's not that there's not perfect land, and we don't usually talk about the development land pieces, but there's land that has been considered and land that has been identified as, I would say, as high priority and would be able to support hotel development, and then the things that would need to go around hotel development. You don't want to just put a hotel in the middle of nowhere. People then don't often go, but you often see hotels where there's access to highways, there's other businesses, it's walkable. So that we have land that is identified as potential. It's more on that financing piece so far.
So to that point, you're talking about what are the surrounding pieces, feedback on what we may or may not have that is either drawing in or inhibiting the development.
I often get asked if there are any tax incentives, and one of those pieces that we considered in March, and I think there was consensus not to move forward with, was like an enterprise zone, which is something, the reason that that's an interesting piece is it's a tax abatement for 3 to 5 years is how it's set up, and it can be very specific, so a very specific parcel of land for only hotel development. So then, if drive-through chicken place comes in and says, oh, well, we want that tax abatement, it's not available to all businesses, it's just that piece of land for that kind of development. So you can use it as a very targeted incentive, and that's Clackamas County that would oversee that for us.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Davis.
Is there a way to check with the Hilton Gardens in Wilsonville to find out if the city of Wilsonville did any incentives?
I don't believe that they did, if my memory serves me correctly, but I'll look into that.
It'd be helpful to find out because they're fairly recent, and we might be able to find out what Wilsonville did too, if they did any incentives for the Hilton Gardens there.
I'll let Jamie finish her note.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Are we good?
Counselor Patton?
Wonderful. So I guess to me, this, if we're talking about goals are achievable or not achievable, that this falls into that category. To me, the only way this would be a completely council achievable goal would be is if we as a council say we are willing to purchase land and build a hotel for a hotelier to come in and run it. And I do not see where we've had that appetite. Now, what I'm hearing from Jamie is that there's questions about, well, is Canby willing to do this? Is Canby willing to do that? We have had those conversations, but we have not necessarily ratified something. So to me, what I think would be more clear and objective with this would be, we as a council need to sit down and say, are we willing to do the tax thing? Yes or no? Are we willing to, would we be willing to do the SDC waivers? Yes or no? And really get those dialed in and sort of on paper now, so that way when she goes out and says, hey, hoteliers, this is the package, she actually has a package rather than saying, well, the council could be interested in this or they might not be, and that sort of thing. That to me is how this would become clear and objective. And then once that's done, then the actual building of the hotel is moved to a different list or something like that, because we will have done everything that we can or everything that we are willing to try and entice them to come in, and then it's up to the free market to take it from there. That is my opinion on this one.
So suggesting maybe sub goal conversation.
Well, I'm suggesting, I guess if you want to call it that, I'm suggesting that it sounds like, Jamie, you have all of the stuff that these hoteliers are interested in or what entices them to come in. To me, it sounds like we need to take that list and say, this is the menu of options. As a council, which ones are you willing to do and not do? And we decide which ones we're willing to do and not do. And then that is voted on, essentially. And then that becomes the package that is rolled out. And then there's actually something to work from. To me, that makes sense.
Okay. Councilor Waterman?
Yeah.
Microphone.
Sorry. That's where I was going, because the goal is literally evaluate the options. So if we have the list of options put in front of us, it's been evaluated, it's now time for us to make a decision based on staff's evaluation. So that's...
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, you did bring that, options were given to the council here this last year. Mm-hmm. They were evaluated, and council said...
There was some appetite for some, no appetite for some. Some of it was then to kind of revisit as, if a potential, came through the door that was saying, this is what we want, and revisiting some of that. Like one of those pieces was, updating land that could be around the hotel that would be public land. So you're updating some of that public land so it would have a park-like atmosphere, something like that.
Okay, Councilor Davis, and I'll come back to Councilor Waterman.
Well, I agree to a certain degree, but we need more information in regards to some newer hotels like Wilsonville. Did they have to do anything? Did the city have to do any incentives?
Right.
Because if we have a hotel study that was completed years ago that demonstrated that a hotel would be very successful in Canby. Mm-hmm. We're doing it again. the same thing. But in my discussions that I've had with a couple hotel that companies that would like to come into Canby, they were given that hotel study, and they weren't necessarily talking about incentives. So in other words, we would need to know if they came in and said, yeah, we are interested if you did this, this, and this. Kind of like Jason's talking about. And then you and Don would have the ability to say, yeah, the council kind of agrees with those things, so that we can hit while the iron's hot and up front what the council would agree upon.
Got it.
Yes, Councilor Wyman.
So I think in the past, we've had discussions about it and we've had like a presentation, but usually when we're getting ready to make some sort of decision, usually we get some sort of staff report and recommendation. Then that is what we use to actually make our decisions on. So I don't think we've ever had like an official, here's our recommendation, and we have to assume and trust that they're doing the research when they come with that recommendation that we've done all of the things. And so I think that is what we need to have in front of us in order to move to the next step.
I agree.
Yes, and I think after that previous conversation, the conclusion was we need some more studies because these are the missing pieces. Sounds like those studies will be done here shortly.
Yeah.
We will have those pieces and then we'll be able to make the decision. The thing that I want to be careful of is that we continue, and I think part of that information that we should get is how often, I agree with Jim, I think there should be some reach out to cities that have built a new hotel in the last couple of years. Maybe if there's 3 cities in the area that have built a new hotel in the last couple of years, what did they do? What didn't they do? And then once we have that information and we have these things, it's like, now what is how good are these studies for? How long are they good for? Rather than every year putting money into redoing studies, hoping that we will entice some hotelier to come into the city when they won't.
And I just want to say the study that we're doing currently is not just redoing what has been done. It is a deeper dive. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that we're not just spending money to just redo something, that already said, yes, there's support there.
Well, sure, but that study is going to have a shelf life, right?
Sure.
And the hotel study that we did that said a hotel's something that can come here also has a shelf life. So we need to identify those shelf lives too.
Copy. I think
Councilor Stearns.
To piggyback on that discussion a little bit, I would be curious to know of any cities that had a hotel recently put in that were not on the I-5. Because I think being on the I-5, I don't know, I just see lots of hotels when I drive down the I-5. That makes sense. But to pull one off the I-5, I don't know if that takes something more than to put one on the I-5.
The Councilman Stearns, the old hotel study addressed that as well. Within that study, talking about the activity that's currently happening in Canby that would support a hotel regardless of the location, because we are within proximity of 405 and the I-5.
Why not? I know, I'm just wondering, when you say, what did Wilsonville do to get the hotel? That's, for me, in my mind, what Wilsonville did to get a hotel was they decided to be next to the I-5. But I'm wondering if there are other places out there that got hotels that didn't have that particular decision that they made a long time ago.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, good idea.
Great.
Got it.
We're good on this one. We're still plugging away on this one. It's still a goal. Okay. Complete comprehensive plan update, 2.3.
So the comprehensive plan will be coming to council on April 15 for adoption. The Planning Commission heard this on Monday, March 9 this week, and had a unanimous recommendation of approval to the council. So that is moving forward for your review and adoption.
Okay. I think we're good on that one. 2.4, discuss future urban renewal district options to support new economic development and parks opportunities in conjunction with UGB expansion.
I think we covered this one earlier, Mayor, part of it at least. We are moving forward with spending out, shutting down, returning tax increment, all the things with the Urban Renewal Agency. Let's see, we want to move into opportunities in conjunction with the UGB expansion. I think there is an appetite that I've heard from the council to have staff do some research on potential other areas of Canby, not the existing footprint per se, or the existing agency and plan. So, Jamie, you want to take it from there? Anything?
No, just that the urban growth boundary concept planning just kicked off in February, so that work will be done in conjunction to identify the best options for districts and/or uses.
And just wanted to echo what Jamie said. So the concept planning will end up with infrastructure, roads, and utilities. And so we'll have costing, their high-level costing. And so once that is completed, the concept planning is about a 1.5 year long process. Once that costing is done, I think there should be a reconsideration of those elements addressing the urban renewal district. We will have knowledge of what those could be for what the costs are and that kind of thing as that goes forward.
So, question, I know I think council decision of whether or not to close by ordinance or close by resolution still needs to be determined and talked about and or voted on. That's number one.
Yep.
I guess if it's moved for a resolution, I guess what I'm going to want to know before we go into that conversation, when we look at the potential of new urban renewal districts, like if we, like currently our district is, the engine is the Canby Pioneer Industrial Park. It is connected to downtown. It literally is connected via 99E. Mm-hmm. Are the standards and I guess guidelines for urban renewal district, does there have to be a connection? Like if I wanted to do, the kind of Pioneer Industrial Park, but I want to do it on this specific piece of property on something, does it need to be connected? Do I need to include, Highway 99E in the conversation so that I've got them, tethered together, or can it just be through, MOU, IGA, whatever acronym we want to use, that here's the engine, here's what we're using it for.
Right.
I think I need to know, I'd like to know that piece.
Sure.
Councilor Davis, sorry, your hand was up first.
No, Jim can go and then I'll go next.
Okay. I know that Wilsonville has something like a number of urban renewal districts, and they have projects. And when the project is completed, it goes back on the tax rolls. And so and Rite Aid, the Rite Aid Distribution Center was an example one in Wilsonville that they did that on. I think that the first step we need to do is determine, are we going to totally close down the old one by whether it's a resolution or an ordinance, and then we can move forward with how we move forward with an urban renewal and how we do urban renewal. By that time, anyway, we'll have the comp plan completed with the new industrial area and everything else that the council can make some decisions on those. Because it could be that we need to do that for whether it's a piece of property for a hotel, for instance. That might be a project, so I think the council needs more information on what's our options.
Councilor Patton?
Yeah, so for me, I see it this way. I think we have determined that we are going to close the current urban renewal district and we are not going to expand it. And the problem with this goal is that it has expansion in it. And we've determined there's no expansion. So in my opinion, this goal needs to be revised to say, how are we going to close the current urban renewal district? And then a new goal needs to be created of evaluating the creation of a new urban renewal district.
Or districts.
Or districts, yes.
Well, can I just, I only read that as the UGB expanding.
But it's not gonna expand.
I don't read that as.
It says in conjunction with UB.
Oh, see, I got my acronyms mixed up. But anyways, I think,
That's why I'm against acronyms, right there.
yeah.
Good.
So, yeah, so I think to me, we've decided that this is gonna shut down. We just have to nail down how we're gonna do it. Oh my gosh. And then, then a new goal is going to need to be created of what does future urban renewal look like in the city?
We need to know what those options are.
Yeah. So I would consider that being something moved to the bubble. This here, we're
2.4 as a
we're
bubble?
moving forward with
Yeah, 2.4 above.
as making a decision on how to close it down, but a goal, whether or not we are going to create a goal to start to discuss what urban renewal looks like in the future in the city is a completely different goal.
Agreed.
But yeah, we're paying the last payment in what, 3-4 months? So we're on the cusp, we're about to close, or sunset, or whatever we're calling it, the current one. So it's
Randy,
two
do we
different
know
goals.
when that's set for the council or for the urban renewal district to consider? Or the council?
We don't have that on a look ahead yet. The mayor and I have a specific date. We have some legality work that we're doing, for lack of a better term, and in terms of, and we don't need to get into this tonight, but it's when the agency technically closes and syncs up with how we're spending money on our last projects. There's a chicken and egg dance going on. You can keep it open while you finish your projects. So I'm working with legal counsel on that. Please don't mistake that with the tax increment question. That money is going for our budgets to all of the taxing districts. That's done. We've handled that. This is just a legal question of how we shut it down or pause it, or, resolution or ordinance with the timing of getting First Street done.
Okay.
That's it, full stop.
Okay.
Increment is done, and it's going back to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you have something?
No, he kind of touched on it.
2.5, develop an economic development strategy in conjunction with UGB expansion.
I'll take that one. I was just going to say that with the urban growth boundary expansion, that initiated again February of this year. And so this economic development strategy will come as part of that. But the kickoff was just in early February. And so that effort will continue through the next year and a half, correct?
Yeah, so this goal is going to be revisited next year. I mean, I think we're actively working on this, but we have to have the information on the process that the concept planning needs to happen so we can actually fulfill this. I think maybe is the right way to say that, but it's being worked on.
Yes, Councilor Waterman.
So is it fall of 2026 or fall of 2027?
Is it fall of 2026 or 27?
Yeah, it says fall 26 in the narrative here.
The first sentence there.
The first sentence, okay. Yeah, we just started, fall, anticipated. So there's several things going on here. Let me explain. So there's a UGB initiation process, separate from the concept planning process. You all will be involved with that. That is the boundary of the urban growth boundary expansion. The concept planning is concurrently happening with that, which will actually define the land use designations on the properties as we go through that process. And that's required in order to actually be able to develop the property. The next step beyond that will be actually amending the comprehensive plan for those new areas. So there's the initiation piece, which is we're doing that, and that's the first step. Concept planning is occurring alongside that. And so hopefully, does that answer the question?
I guess the question is, what are we expecting to adopt in fall of 2026?
So that is going to be the boundary. So the actual urban growth boundary. So it's a bit odd the way Oregon does it, but we will look at things like property and the criteria for the property to bring it in or not bring it into the boundary based on the state criteria. We will look at it very, very macro level based on needs, how much industrial land, how much residential land, how much park land, but we will not actually go down to this land is going to be park, this land is going to be industrial, this land is going to be residential. We will not get to that level. The state doesn't require it. It's actually assumed that that's going to be sorted through the concept planning process.
Yeah. So the boundaries fall this year?
The boundaries fall this year. So the boundary is key, and we have to get that done because we have sequential urban growth boundary, which is a special process that Canby and Molalla, we're the only ones in that, and that allows us to still use the population forecast from 2022, so we don't have to do housing allocations like everybody else in the metro area, which is not something we really want to do. We want to have our own destiny.
Okay, anything else on that one? Okay. 2.6, complete the UGB expansion process.
So that was what I did. That was what I just mentioned to Councilor Waterman. That was that. So that's the initiation piece I just described. So that's going to be coming to you all. There's a bunch of stuff that's leading up to that. We have a general schedule right now. There'll be project advisory committee meetings, technical advisory committee meetings, listening sessions, again, with the urban growth boundary residents. There'll be another listening session. There'll be another community summit as well. And that's going to all lead up to Planning Commission and City Council meetings regarding this. It's going to be fairly intense from May through like August of this year.
And some of these answers seem a little bit redundant, but that's just because the work is moving forward concurrently, and credit to Don and his team in moving those huge projects forward.
And I think we can say that about 2.7 as well.
Yes, and I need maybe a bit of information on 2.7 on the code update. So we were fortunate, we just received a grant from DLCD, which is actually giving us the full amount of money for the code audit piece. We did receive from last year's budget the authorization for part of that work. Now with this piece that's matching, we will have the full code audit budget. You all, I think, will be seeing this in ordinance on April 1st. There's also money in that grant for urban growth boundary expansion work that we are doing, that our consultant is working on, and about $40,000 that the city will keep for work that was already in the consultant's contract that the state is paying us for. So, which is kind of a nice thing. This doesn't happen every day. So $75,000 all in, and that launches the code audit piece, which will happen between April through next fiscal year, and then we will go into, we'll be seeking grants for the code update following year for that. One final piece that you all will see, which is not part of that, is independent from that, there's a floodplain ordinance update because the Federal Emergency Management Agency is requiring all cities in Oregon to update their floodplain ordinances consistent with the biological opinion that came down through a lawsuit that basically talks about endangered species and having to update standards to be consistent with the federal biological opinion. You will probably be seeing that this summer. It's not a huge deal for Canby. It sounds ominous, what I just described, but it's not really that big of a deal. Most of the land along the Molalla is already areas that you would not want to develop in anyway. It's on hillsides where the floodplain is. Has very little impact for the city, but we still have to go through that exercise to be consistent with the federal standards. It was a huge deal at one point for the administration. They were really pushing it. And then with everything else going on nationally, it's gone way by the wayside and not really having any attention to it at all, but we still need to get it done. Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Patton?
So, thank you very much for the information about this grant that you have gotten for this. This is something that the city has been talking about doing for decades. Last year, we had money set aside for this, cut it from the budget, said that we were going to kick the can down the road for another year. Did you say that this is matching? That like we need to put money towards this with this money as well, correct?
It's matching us, so we're whole now. We have enough for the consultant to do all the work.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the next fiscal year,
Yes.
will there need to be money to continue this so that we are staying on track?
My hope is we can get another grant that pays for the code update, so we are not having to use city funds. But yes, we would have to fund that if we did not receive a grant.
Okay, so then I guess what I would say to my colleagues is we have a great opportunity here. We need to keep the eye on the prize, and I hope that when we do our next budget cycle, the money that is being earmarked for this, and hopefully we'll get subsidized with a grant, we cannot cut it this year. We've got to keep this moving. I'm just throwing that out there for people's preemptive thoughts.
Councilor Waterman?
On the top of your head, do you have an idea of how long this audit's going to take?
So the code audit should run from April through, we actually have a deadline on this piece from the LCD, which we're using their money. I think the June 27 is, that's the end of it. It should be done before June. So it'll be about the next fiscal year. So what Councilor Patton just mentioned, I was not planning on asking for code update funding this year because we're doing the audit and then trying to seek a grant during this year for that, but I may be coming back next fiscal year asking for funding. Thank you for that, for the plug for next fiscal year for the code update.
So you're saying the audit's going to be done June this year?
By June of 27. We're starting,
okay.
It takes about a year. I mean, there's.
Yeah, not this year.
Yeah, I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Starting in April.
That's what
Starting in
I was
April, yeah.
asking about because of the budget part. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like making sure.
I'm thinking
Got it.
fiscal year, like budget, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. It is 10 to 7. Does everyone need to get up and take a break or keep pressing forward? Okay. All right, we'll move on then to
Randy, eat his pizza.
I'm saving it for.
Thank you. Goal 3, plan a transportation system that eases the impacts of growth. So 3.1, receive recommendation from street maintenance task force and updates fees.
A lot of discussion on this topic.
Heck
So,
yeah.
Jamie,
Yeah.
Yes, so Kittleson and Associates has been brought on. They've received all of the data from staff, which includes property owners, business owners, all of them in Canby. And you know, while our records were good, our staff person has gotten, you know, found people who are businesses who were not previously listed. The Kittleson is going to be evaluating the fee, bringing it up to the current 12th edition. And I believe this has been said at a city council meeting, but just to refresh that it's not as simple as just saying we've got the new version of the trip generation manual, and so we'll just use those numbers. The whole program has to be reconfigured, and so Kittleson is working on that. We kicked things off in early February, and we anticipate the work will be completed by July.
Great. Any further dialogue on this goal? Councilor Patton.
I think if getting the fee up to snuff is a lot of that lift is being done through this Kittleson thing, then I think what we need to do, and I believe that booklet that is used to do this or whatever this
The trip generation
thing, it sounds like it's updated like every 6 years or so. perhaps what we need to do is put this on one of the sort of rolling calendars that we're trying to generate, that in 4 years, it is evaluated or money is budgeted to hire this company to do that update again and make sure that we are up to snuff on all this stuff. See what the see if there's a new manual, implementing all that new manual and stuff. So that way this is on that rotation and doesn't fall through the cracks.
Great.
We as staff support that.
Councilor Stern, did you have something?
Well, two things. One is this 3.2 probably needs to come before 3.1 as far as order wise, because what the fees are going to be probably is going to be dictated by the need for the level of service and streets and street maintenance. So that seems like it logically that the one has to come before the other. One's dependent on the other. So all this work that got done by Kittleson is all for the business, right? Side of the street maintenance fee. Are they gonna make a recommendation on the residential part of the maintenance?
On the fee
For
residential and non-residential, yes.
Okay. No, as I said before, this process seems to have taken a lot longer than was originally promised.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Our intent is to work with you all on a rollout July 1, new fiscal year. That's the goal, the moonshot.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, I think that it's important that we put this on the rotation so that if like every 4 to 5 years, this comes up and says, oh, it's time for us to budget the money for this group to come in and do this evaluation of where the fee, is the fee good? Does the fee need to be adjusted? Those sort of things.
Yeah, I think this was one of the first things that was discussed when I came on council, and
I have been talking about this for
and I'm hoping
12 years.
And I hope it won't be discussed on my last day on the council.
Okay. 3.3, complete South Ivy Street and North Pine Street integration projects to bring county roads into local transportation system.
I think at this point, Janie, can you hang out a little bit?
I would love to.
And Don, maybe you can take a break.
Okay.
Will Spencer join us?
Yeah, Spencer, get comfortable, buddy.
This one right here.
So Pine Street, we have taken over Pine Street from the county. I believe that was, I just emailed this to you. It was January 12th, I think, is when the funds came through from the county. So the city now owns that road, and we're working on coming up with the plan for redoing all the way from Territorial to 99. Ivy Street, the project is currently completed. The contractor has obtained substantial completion. They're in their warranty process. And we're waiting on the final paperwork from the county for executing the end of the IGA. So those two, I think, are kind of done.
Very exciting. Yes, ma'am.
Is the realignment at 4th and Pine still on the books to get done? Okay.
And for everyone in our audience, Spencer is our Public Works Supervisor.
Question, Spencer. That fence on the turn on North Pine, do we inherit that too, or was that already ours?
That is already ours.
Okay. So we're watching that fence.
That was a railroad requirement when we purchased the property for these parking lots.
No, over on Pine.
Yeah, that fancy black fence?
Yeah.
Yeah, that fence was one of the requirements for the city to take over the property here. That was one of the railroad's requests, is if we sell you that property, you need to put that fence all the way down through there.
Okay.
So that fence was part of that.
Yeah.
So
How do we get people to quit crashing into it?
Realign the road.
Realign the road, there we go.
So, it may come as a shock to everybody, but whenever I talk to people about, I'm a city councilor, and I ask them what the city can do to be better, they always say Pine Street is like the first thing that comes to mind. And so if people ask me the question, and it doesn't have to be super precise, but when will Pine Street be fixed?
That is a loaded question.
Because that is the most consistent feedback I get from anybody on this.
The top of my list of things that I want to accomplish. I am going to make sure that it does not take this long. The Ivy Street project that we just finished started, I believe, when you were on council the first time. So that took almost 15 years. I don't think that we're going to have to deal with that because we no longer have to contend with the county. So I wish I could give you an exact
Or even not exactly,
time,
even like a kind of a
part of it will
like
be
5 years, 4 years.
Part of it will be because we don't have the complete funding analysis of what all does need to be done on how much it's all going to cost. It might have to be broken up into like 3 sections to get done at a time. I'm hoping that we can complete the whole thing in a 5-year span from conception to everything's done and
all the way territorial on down.
Yeah.
Jason, go ahead.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
So for this goal, it sounds like we are in striking distance. This one is essentially pretty much completed.
Yes.
Right? So I guess my question is, as we rework these goals, what are the next 2 streets or whatever that we want to put in here? If we're going to keep this goal, what are the next 2 streets that we want to put in to this goal as the next ones to bring in? I guess is the thing that I look at this as, and then perhaps creating a sub goal, whether it's worth creating a sub goal to say, you know, keep the Pine Street work moving. So that's on the bubble. So that's like, so our eyes on the prize with that. That to me seems like what needs to happen with this 3.3.
We will be coming to you, Counselor, with a TSP update Don's working on that will have, you can go ahead and come on down, Don. There's lots of major arterial streets included in that for teeing up next with a priority with funding attributed to it. When are we planning on coming to council with that?
It'll be coming to council on April 29th. And just, I think maybe, just for clarity, the TSP does not really prioritize. It identifies the major issues and the major items. I think the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan that Spencer and his group manage, that is really the focal point with the 5-year plan. And then kind of, I think what's being asked here is what's on the 5-year plan, which there's a 5-year plan, and then what is the 1-year plan? I think that work is being done. I just don't think it's necessarily formalized, like at that level where council's understanding that, or if there's weigh-in on that from council on which are the most important projects. And I know Spencer has like 2 very large projects he's managing right now, and so is Pine the next one that's on the list once those are done, or is there some other priority? And I think that would be helpful for direction for staff, given the limited staff that we have, and trying to execute these things, and then funding and those other things as well. That's just my 2 cents.
Are there?
Well, and I guess to just distill what I'm trying to get at here, it seems like when we identify a county road that we want to bring into the city, it takes a fair amount of time to work out with the county whether we're going to get any money for it or not before we take it over. And so to me, I think we already know without the, I guess my question is, do we already know in your short-term plan of streets that are in the city that are county roads that need to be taken over and fixed? They will probably also show up in this thing, but this is a much more long-term plan. So it's like every year, every couple of years, we can bite off one or two county roads. What is the next 1 or 2 roads that we want to start working with the county on? And then once that's done, create the goal of how do we get that road up to date once it's in the system. That's kind of where I'm going at.
And if I remember correctly, I believe Pine was the last full street that was under county jurisdiction. Right now, there's several other streets that are center line. South is the city, center line north is the county, and with all of those being on the boundaries of the city. So when annexation happens or anything like that, most of those will be developed, and then more than likely, I'm assuming that the right of way would be dedicated to the city, so that it would be brought in that way.
Yeah, so that's, because I remember that conversation being that there was, like, I think Redwood was one of those where county owned, but we left it alone in terms of conversation because the one side got developed with the Icon housing development, and then the other side someday will get a treatment as well. So, and we're not, we put it in the development costs, not our costs.
Yeah.
So, yes, Councilor Davis.
I think at one of the council meetings too, we mentioned South Pine at Township, the realignment of that. Because we've got school buses and kids in that area and it's really off-centered. Somebody's going to get hit there.
That was mentioned. There was some initial conversations with the property owners on what it would take. There was kind of an initial list that I think needs to be revisited and then finalized and brought forward.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Part of my question was already answered because I thought that Jerry had said that Pine was the last one to bring in other than the half street improvements. So that's good. So the second part of my question though is where are we with the dedicated left turn lane at 13th and Ivy? That was going to be talked about once the Ivy Street project was finished. And now that it is, where are we with the talks on that intersection?
We are still.
Oh, and the speed reduction.
The speed reduction, we are waiting for the survey to come back from ODOT for that speed reduction. I think we received an email, or Maria had emailed them asking for an update, and they said it's still forthcoming. As far as moving forward with the traffic signal, we have been waiting for the finalized that we own all of Ivy before trying to move forward with reconfiguring a county light.
Okay, but it's still very much in the works.
Yep, it's,
That makes
that one, I don't think that I would be allowed back at the traffic safety committee if I didn't get that one done. That's been a top priority for them.
In your own room,
Yeah, so.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Anything else on 3.3? Once, twice, sold. Okay. 3.4, update downtown parking district master plan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Don.
The downtown parking study and implementation guide was adopted in July. Staff has been looking at ways that we can work through those the word just went right out of my mind. My apologies. The strategies is the word. The strategies that were identified, parking isn't just one department or one group. So, for instance, one of the recommendations of a low-hanging fruit was about having a customer first focused parking strategy. And so we're talking about how we're going to be rolling that out at an upcoming business meeting, working with Public Works so that we can update the signage downtown, working with the police department, which oversees code compliance for what is necessary for parking management. And hopefully that some of those things will be addressed in this upcoming budget cycle.
Okay. So we don't have a master plan yet.
No, it wasn't called a master plan. It was called a parking strategy and implementation guide. So the best way to approach downtown parking. Part of the reason I think it wasn't a master plan is that when the city completed the last parking master plan in 2012, still many of those recommendations had not been addressed. And so essentially Rick Williams Consulting updated with best practices, got rid of some of the things, talked through what some of our code, met with Brianna from our planning department on code implications and those kinds of things. So it was just titled something differently, but it is an overall master plan for downtown parking, yes.
Okay. So do we need it, does the group want to keep the title of this particular goal or change it to match the action that's there?
I think the goal's done, right? Or
I don't know, it's like, why are we, there's just a lot that I feel like we're keeping on here, even though it's essentially done.
yeah, I mean, if it's done, we can cross it off, right? And the goal's crossed off.
No, I'm cool. I'm fine with crossing it. I mean, if we're done with it, we're done with it, yeah.
I mean,
We'll add it to the bottom of completed.
And we can always have a different goal in the
Achieve
future
goals.
to achieve it, but yeah. All my staff now has to park on 3rd Street or in front of the American Legion.
I will say that I do think that
checking things
some of
off.
those conversations that were had around, the open house that we had, having the meeting here, other discussions that we've had with downtown businesses, that if you drive downtown enough, which I happen to, you can see that there's a pretty visible change, especially in some of those higher trafficked areas they're considered the core of downtown. But, part of it is you don't necessarily, there's a problem, or you hear that there might be a problem, but you don't think, oh, if I just move 1 block away or a little bit further, that helps to reduce the amount of traffic in the hot spots of Canby. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Is there, so that the fine goal achieved, is there a new goal or?
How about we just go through this and then we could do more.
Okay.
We got a lot of pages left.
I know.
We don't have problems, we have opportunities.
Let's get the update on what we got going on first.
3.5, identify option for location and funding of the Transit Operations Center. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, Todd's coming down. I think we covered this a little bit earlier, but we're actively seeking resources to fund the project.
These little guys have issues.
As far as location, I think evaluation-wise, the current property we own is still the best spot. There is some hopeful news that the federal government is reevaluating NEPA requirements for the FTA. If that actually gets passed, won't be till later this year. If it gets passed at all, it has to go through both the House and the Senate as part of a bigger package, so we'll see. Then we would be able to do NEPA on the property, that's the Environmental Protection Act, and allow us to apply for federal funds. We're also applying for some other funding to try to get some additional money to at least build in phases, and then there's some potential opportunity for property to expand our current location, maybe, that we might be bringing to the council a little bit later. So I think where we're at is probably where we want to be. It's just a matter of getting past the federal requirements, which it looks like there are some avenues maybe that might be showing up this year, and then securing money to actually build it.
Great. Council President Hensley.
Since the goal says identify option for location and funding, it sounds like we've done the goal. It's identified. I say check.
Feels good.
I'm all about checking things out.
You know
I have
what?
my calendar book. It's like, oh, done the dishes. Check. It's all. It makes you feel good to check it off, right?
That's right.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Whitman, you did it, Brianna. I'm sorry.
So the funding part then that we've identified is.
Microphone.
The funding part that we have identified is hopefully a bill passage or some other grant.
The bill passage is to get us through this EPA process
just
that will
EPA
allow us to
process.
apply for certain federal funding, right?
So-
The other funding, there are other pockets of funding we have applied for and hopefully might have a shot at.
Okay.
They're a little long. They take almost 2 years to get from beginning to end, but that would be a strong possibility there as well. If that NEPA passes, then I can start hitting all these standard transit federal fund pockets and seeing if I can get additional money there.
Okay, so all of the funding is really contingent on grants then?
Yeah, but I think we found some good sources to go for that.
So the funding part of completing is grants?
Mostly at this point, I think is what we're looking at, and building in phases instead of going all out. But as far as identifying the property, we've done quite a bit of looking around. We are in the best spot we could be, I believe.
All right, so thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Groovy, hang out for this one?
Yeah.
3.6, finalized design and complete Walnut Street extension project.
I wanted to have Spencer come down too, but Mr. Wood, I wanted to give him his flowers this evening. I understand a great conversation happened with ODOT recently at one of the meetings you all were at, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor for that.
Okay, and Mayor Hodson as well. So go ahead. Let's provide a brief update on where we're at with Walnut.
So our biggest problem with Walnut right now is, we've identified the contractor to start phase 2, and phase 3 is our ODOT right away. The county doesn't want to give us the permit to start, because this is their land, right? It's not our land yet. The county doesn't want us to even cut a tree down until we have an ODOT permit. And ODOT, if you've ever dealt with ODOT before, you go through about 30 different departments, each of which have an opinion on your project, and then you have to answer those. And then you answer those, and it goes back through those departments, and they have new things they would like you to work on. So every time we submit, we get back and forth, and they're all very minor. None of them are like deal killers, and even ODOT has said, yeah, we're absolutely going to give you this permit. The problem is the county's like, until you have a permit in hand, we're not going to let you do anything. I talked to the mayor at C4, and he introduced me to someone at ODOT, and I had a conversation with that gentleman, and he's reached out to his folks, and it looks like ODOT is going to issue us a temporary permit. And the county has stated that temporary permit will be acceptable for us to move forward. Now,
Not the front door, really?
that's what they've told us. We haven't seen it yet.
Sure.
We need to reach out to make sure there isn't something ODOT needs us to do to get that temporary permit. That is the path that ODOT understands, that the county wants this, and they're not going to budge without it. So they're going to issue us a temporary permit to allow us to move forward. And the county has said the temporary permit will be acceptable. So fingers crossed we can get that very, very soon. And then we've already got everybody geared up, ready to go. We can hit the ground running.
So do I need to send a fruit basket to Paul Scarlett at
Probably,
ODOT and
yeah.
Mike Bells?
Say thank you
After we have the
so
permit in
much.
hand.
After the permit, of course.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hold on to that.
Yeah.
So
Seriously, I
that's-
will drop off a big old fruit basket to those guys. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you
So,
for that, Todd. That's great.
well, thank you for hooking us up with someone.
Yeah,
that can help.
I just bring people together. That's all that I do.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Counselor Davis, did you have something?
So the finalized design, that's done, correct?
The project was broken up into 3 separate plan sets. The first 2, those are done. The third one, which is just at the ODOT right-of-way intersection, that is the part that's going through the review.
Okay.
I would say it is 99.99% done. We're just tweaking a couple of other things.
So we could just move that to complete the Walnut Street extension?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. 3.7, evaluate next phase of transit services with cost estimate and exploring funding options.
Yeah, funding options is a good question. That's the part, as far as the next two phases that our master plan calls out, or one is a trip back and forth to Wilsonville, because that's where everybody's going for work as Wilsonville continues to grow rapidly in economic growth. And then, of course, everybody wants the reverse loop. That loop has been easily our most successful service we've turned on in a decade. It is now at 50% of ridership of the 99X in its short period of time running. So it's quite impressive. We get a lot of high school kids that use it. We got a lot of folks that used to require dial-a-ride to go to the grocery store. It allows them to be more independent. So that our loop is easily our most popular. So reverse loop would be great. And then for jobs, honestly, the partnering with Wilsonville to get more frequent service to and from Wilsonville would be the way to go. The question is, and this I don't have an answer to, is where that money comes from.
Well, doesn't the SMART already come to?
They come once every hour and a half.
Okay.
Which isn't really enough for somebody who works there.
But there could be some sort of, I mean, everything costs money, of course, but could there be some arrangement just to pay them some money to come a little more often? Or do we have to have our own bus come and their bus come in? I just think it's a little bit wasted.
Well,
if they're doing a bus and we're doing a bus, when you could probably do it for
It's actually more efficient because we start in Canby, they start in Wilsonville. You cross back and forth throughout the day, and we end in Canby, they end in Wilsonville. That way you don't have to haul a bus all the way to Wilsonville or all the way to Canby. So it ends up being ultimately more efficient in the long run. We're also slightly cheaper to operate. The ultimate goal, and I've already talked to Wilsonville about this, and if we could find the money, they love the idea, is that we run every other loop, and they run every other loop. So
Still every hour and a half, or would you go to
no,
hour?
we go to every 45 minutes to
45 minutes.
hour. Yeah.
Okay.
So more frequent service so that more people could do it. So that would be the ideal scenario. So those are the two items that we've identified as in our best interest for the future. The question is, how do you pay for it?
So just want to say that once I introduce my son, 16-year-old, to the city bus, then we don't have to drive him around anymore. So it's going cool.
Yeah, the loop is, honestly, if you'd asked me 6 years ago, when you did, I was like,
They could probably get rid of the yellow school buses because, I mean, my son prefers them to the school buses.
We have a large, especially during school days, a large number of high school kids that use our bus. And a lot of them because the school bus refuses to pick them up because they're too close, even though it's still, a mile away and pouring down rain. So they'll ride our bus to and from school.
Yeah, I think it's a half mile for elementary and a mile for high school, isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's really been a great one. So, and everybody's asking us to reverse the loop. Can we get another one going the other direction? It's like, yeah, sure. Just need the cash. So.
Just need that big money tree.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
I'm just going to throw this out here.
Oh, please.
If there's that many students riding the school bus, maybe at some point in time, we need to go to the school district and say, hey, you should be paying into the system.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm sitting here thinking that as well.
But I don't know, you all might know this more than I don't know what impact Safe Routes to School has on our school district, but I think they just stripped a bunch of money out of that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Todd. 3.9, identify county roads and future urban growth boundary and determine cost impact of integration into local transportation system. I think we just had that.
Covered that.
I think we just had that.
Some of these repeat a little bit, but they're nuanced.
All right.
I apologize for not doing my homework and reading ahead, because this is like, I was trying to turn one of the other goals into this goal.
Yeah.
Silly me.
Look at that. Look, you asked me, there it is.
There's some redundancy. We can probably combine these a little bit.
Section 4.
Yes, sir.
Or goal 4, develop a more robust park and recreation program aligned with the Parks Master Plan. 4.1, evaluate and determine funding options for parks and recreation project. Been in conversation with that one. That's just where it's at.
We could probably go down a bunny trail on that one.
Yeah.
You guys are all very well versed in that.
Or a walking trail.
A walking trail. Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, I couldn't resist it.
Yes.
Thanks, Todd, I appreciate that. Yes, Councilor Waterman.
I was thinking, for me, a little clarification, funding options for park and recreation project. Are we saying projects, or is there a specific project that we're thinking about?
Plural.
Okay. Plural. I just wanted
It's
to
just global.
Typo.
Okay.
I'll clean that up.
All right, 4.2, evaluate and determine a future park and recreation sustainable management structure.
Yes, sir. You read my update here with the note section on all the different potential parties of interest in Canby. In case you can't read the small print up there, I will do it quickly. A lot of collaborators here: Canby School District, City of Canby, Cappard, Canby Kids, Canby Parks and Rec Committee, of course. Maybe we've kicked around this concept of having sort of a Parks and Rec Summit in Canby in maybe the spring or summer, where we bring all these vested stakeholders together and talk options. Path forward.
Okay. Moving on then to 4.3. Evaluate and determine the park master plan structure.
Don is the expert master plan director. Yeah, okay, thank you. We are basically, I think you might be able to check this off because we're about to adopt park SDCs that are built from that parks master plan. So if you think this goal is asking for something different, I'm happy to hear it. But other than that, I wasn't here for when this was built, so I don't know what the context or behind the scenes was for this goal.
I'm not
like we can check
sure if I can analyze what it is.
You guys were both there.
I was here, I wasn't.
Not sure what the intent was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Councilor Davis.
Well, I think the important part here, and I think Don's already picked up on it too, with the direction he's going, is that this park master plan can be changed by council annually. And that's one piece we haven't been doing since we did the park master plan, because the Park and Rec Committee was told, you really gotta, any projects you want to do have to be identified in the park master plan. Well, the council at any given point can receive recommendations and change that, those projects.
And that came out of the SDC discussion, and the one context that's all great background, Councilor Davis. When we did the 2022 Park Master Plan, that did not get the SDCs over the finish line. In fact, the consultant at that point, I'm gonna throw them under the bus a bit, was actually telling us the park SDCs were gonna go down. That was one of the reasons that we were not real thrilled about that, which, as you see now, they're not going down, they're going up. We're trying to contain them, and so it's kind of going in the other direction here. So, and that probably was because, I mean, it wasn't as defined of a list in the 2022 Park Master Plan. Now it's fairly definitive as to what that list is, and you all have seen that. And I think it's a lot more definitive on park improvement things than the master plan is a little bit more about vision and master planning and visioning. Is a lot of that in there versus a specific list, which we now have, and that would be the amendment I spoke of before, which would be the amendment to the park master plan, which will be the list, and that would be the first vote when we do the SDCs, and then to the park master plan, and then the SDCs would be adopted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that cleans it up quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Patton.
Yeah, so what I again, I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I think with this one, part of it too was that we have the Parks Master Plan and it says you need to do all of these things, but it doesn't necessarily say when you do all of the things. And so part of this was, I think to me, part of this was taking the Parks Master Plan, taking the now SDC information and saying, these are the projects, how are we going to now tackle them? What's project 1, 2, and 3?
Prioritize.
What's project, right? And so this to me, that's what this goal is take that information and now create the strategic plan for how we're gonna implement the Parks Master Plan.
And prioritize the projects.
Yeah.
Councilor Waterman.
Yeah, and not everything in the Parks Master Plan was a capital project either. There are administrative things that are in there as well that need to be addressed.
Yep.
So.
Okay, noted. We can change the language here if the council pleases the descriptor a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay. That concludes 4. We're going to move into 5, enhance engagement and communications that represent broad perspectives. 5.1, I think we've achieved that, yes?
That's done.
Okay. 5.2 is,
Maya, do you have anything to add to this particular goal? Maya, our city recorder, and among other things?
Add to or update?
Update.
And a new goal.
There you go.
Because we've done this one. Are we adding a goal?
I think she redid them all over.
Thank you, Maya. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yes, you did.
I don't have the specifics on me right at the moment, but I know that we have recently updated the council policies and guidelines, and there's been a few things, maybe just administrative, that we may need to change. I've started to kind of go through it a little bit, and we may need to have another subcommittee meeting at some point. But I think this is an ongoing goal that we're going to keep looking at every few years anyway.
Thank you. Groovy. Oh, you might have a question.
Councilor Patton.
No, if that's the case, do we maybe change this from update council policies and guidelines to maintain the policies and guidelines?
Yeah, that's not a goal, though.
That's not really a goal. I think a goal would be something like review it for, review it once a year or something. I don't know, that could be a goal.
Do annual reviews.
I think then it's done. It's done, and we'll work on it as time goes on.
Yeah. Check the box.
Yeah.
But I think to mind if we've got a committee for that.
Yes.
We've got some ideas that we need to update.
Sure.
We need to get back together then.
But I think a work session on the council policies and guidelines would probably be very useful to do like in January of next year, because there's going to be an election and maybe some new people on that, and it's always good for the new people. Like it took me about a year before I even figured out which way was up.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
5.2, adopt and implement communications plan.
Like Ms. Stickle might say we've checked that box. I don't want to speak for her.
Thank you. I would say that, yes, we did check that box as far as adopting and implementing the communications guide. With the budget constraints from last year, there wasn't a communications budget necessarily created, but each department was looking internally about how they can further what we do with what we have. And so, I know the library has started doing a lot of videos, video segments on ways to use the library or different aspects. Canby Area Transit does a great job. The police department has increased their communications. And this, obviously, I'm talking about external communications, but then working together, Touch a Truck has continued to grow, and the library will be joining the PD, Economic Development, and others for that Touch a Truck event. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, just as an example of ways that we can take what we do and make it go further, is the State of the City presentation. There's a lot of really good information, and how do we get that information out to the community in different ways? And so actually today, while I was at a conference on tourism, they were talking about ways to best take something and use it in, I think, 5 different ways. And so I'm going to be working on a campaign that is kind of externally facing about our internal efforts, if that makes sense. I'm getting a little tired, so if it doesn't quite make sense, give me a flag. But it will be it will be called the Canby Growing Together campaign, and it will kick off with using that information about what we've used in the mayor's state of the city, kind of taking that look back and what we have coming, and then also we'll continue to grow, no pun intended, over the next year. So I think that the goal as written was accomplished.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
5.3, increase opportunities for city council to engage with the community. Admin function.
That's a fun one, I think. We did loosen up not our charter, but our operating, Maya helped me with our policies.
The ordinance for where we are to and not have meetings.
That's right. We loosened that language up. Thank you, Councilor Patton, so that you can take your meetings on the road in a public venue. And so you could meet with the school district on their turf if you wanted, or you could meet with the fire district, or you could have a meeting in the Canby Adult Center if you wanted to with those residents there, and as long as it's open to the public. But find more meaningful ways to engage and.
Fire board meets the same time we do, so we could all combine.
Oh, there you go. So anyway, I'll stop talking because I'm sure you all have plenty of ideas on this.
Councilor Davis.
Yeah, I think that you brought up a good point in meeting with the other government agencies, because I know that we really need to have, whether it's a summit or representatives from whether it's Canby School District, the fire district, because everybody's looking at potentially doing a levy or a bond or something like that. And I think we're headed for a train wreck here.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that everybody's going to be looking at trying to raise money and stuff like that. But I think it would show goodwill for the city to do a summit with, and the city council, obviously, to talk about, bring your plans for what you're anticipating for levies and bonds and things like that, so that we're not in conflict in helping have the open dialogue with that, so that we all know what's going on and what they're planning moving forward, because otherwise we're headed for some major issues in regards to, because I know potentially the school district's looking at a levy and the fire district possibly in the future and things like that.
Our swim levies up.
Yeah.
The school district is not looking at it. Councilor Patton asked for one.
So I think part of that has to also be, and I might have missed when we talked about this, there was talk of that the city and all of its taxing districts have a maximum amount of taxability. And we really, and I don't know if we determined what that maximum amount of taxability is. And, if that's the case, saying, hey, is it fair for one taxing district to gobble up most of that? Or how do we share this pie? Because it would be, it's great if one taxing district has all of the stuff, but if the other ones don't, then, how does that helpful? And so I think that will be a key part of that strategic plan for how do we plan on milking the taxpayers for what we can to get the work done that needs to be done, essentially.
Right. Yeah, but you're referring to compression, and it's a real thing.
Yeah, compression's already
We're already in it.
Yeah, we're already in compression.
Yeah.
Every time that stuff gets approved, it shrinks the.
Yep.
Yeah.
It should be noted, though, that education and general government have two different pots.
Yep.
So you can have education side by side with general government. They have their own.
Yep.
Each has a different cap, so you can run them side by side.
Yeah.
And maybe even a work session on how that all works, because it's still kind of, the
That's a
compression
good idea.
things, I kind of got the idea, but I still like that what you just said, Councilor Hensley, was new to me, and there's probably lots of stuff that would be just say, what can we work with, what can we do, what kind of option levies are possible, just in a theoretical sense, and then we can change that to practical ideas, because it's no use in talking about and arguing about something that can't be done anyway.
I think every entity has a plan, right? And we just need to get together and find out, what's your plan? What are you planning on? Because that will help us make decisions in the future as well.
And to me, that's the problem, is we don't have a plan.
No.
If the school district has a plan, and fire has a plan, and all the other people have a plan, we don't ever seem to have a plan. The plan is that we need more money, but then we never actually ask for it. So to me, that's the big one. With the exception of the pool, that's a different story. That one is on a revolving plan, but we've never actually sorted that out.
We have an option levy for the police here, and
No.
No, fire.
Only fire.
Only fire?
Yeah.
Let's look at my property tax bill.
No, they're not part of the city, but they're part of the compression piece.
Yeah. No, I said they're not part of the city.
Well, it's sheriff's levy, okay. I was remember looking at the bill and going over with
Yeah.
my wife all the different things. Like, why are we paying for the Port of Portland here? I'm just wondering why we do that. I mean, what's
Housing district.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The coordination piece, like you're
Yeah.
talking about, Councilor Davis, that's important, not just about compression, but just general tax fatigue on the consumer. You know, I mean, in May, they're gonna be hit with the school levy, and then if we try to come out right behind it in November for something, I mean, we need to coordinate so that we can time them out and not have everybody say, whoa, as they're already doing. I mean, that's why the transportation package is being litigated right now. So people are already fed up, so we have to time those right. So that's why, more than compression, I think coordination is
Yeah, the school levy is coming at the same time as the vote against the tax increase, so that'll be fun for them. Fight both ways.
All right, anything else on 5.3?
So opportunity for city council to engage with the community.
I don't know how much more we can.
I really like that we have the Citizens Engagement Academy going on, and that's still going on good, I guess. I went to the first meeting. I think that produces a lot of outreach for people to learn about how Canby is doing, and I'm wondering about if that thing can be expanded, or are we still in just trying to figure out how to make it work? Because the more people that understand how the city works, the more people can interact productively with the city instead of screaming and yelling at somebody or whatever. And so I think there's a great value in those kind of outreach communities, and especially maybe in the Citizens Engagement Academy, specifically approaching some of this other community organizations, be it churches or like bridging cultures or other things, so that you can say, can you invite somebody to come on here so we can have somebody in your community that understands how the city works a little bit better. So I don't know, that's something that I think could be used as a way of outreaching, or even have like a scholarship for one of the high school students to go through that program or something. I'm just thinking out of the top of my head right now, but I think those kind of things that bring the mystery of how the dark magic inside the city works to the other people, so they can access it as well.
And Jamie and I have a budget meeting next week. We can talk about what her budget looks like and capacity to expand. But the great ideas. Thank you, Councilor.
Yes, Councilor Patton.
I think something to go along with what you're saying is an experience that I had when I called on the houses and stuff up there on South Teakwood Circle, or North Teakwood Circle. There was one person, now I know the city did all this outreach. They had meetings, they gave out flyers, they did this, they did that. There was one person I talked to who had no clue why it was happening. She literally did not have any clue what was going on, why it was going on. I mentioned Walnut Street. She had no clue that there was a Walnut Street in the city, right? And so I ended up talking with her for probably 10 to 15 minutes just to get her up to speed on things in the city. So to me, we talk about what we can do to bring people here to us to get this information. One of the things that I think we need to start evaluating is, how do we, as a city council, go to these people? Do we pick a section of town and for an hour one day, we go and we talk to these people? If it's a project in an area, do we do some door knocking as counselors and say, hey, I'm a member of city council. This is what's happening in your neighborhood. Do you have any questions? Because in most of those scenarios, the 11 doors that I knocked on and got a hold of somebody, most of them started out very bristly. And by the time I was done talking to them, it was a completely different tone. And so that, to me, I think that is something that should be considered.
And people are always afraid of stuff they don't understand.
Sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
I think if anything, but part of the communication and citizen engagement part too, I think trying to re-engage neighborhood associations could go a long way with that as well.
I've been trying that for years.
Council President Hensley, you want to weigh in on that one?
I've been trying that one for years. What I have found in my work with the HO, or the neighborhood associations, not HOAs, the neighborhood associations, is they will galvanize around an issue and they'll activate. But just in general, just to keep up on things, there's not a lot of interest, unfortunately. And try as I might, I reactivated one that was basically, I mean, not even on life support. It was, I brought it back from the dead and it went for a little while, but since there was nothing that everyone could galvanize around, they wanted a good issue to back or fight. And since there wasn't anything going on, it just waned off and got lost interest. So I don't know what to do there. I'm welcoming any ideas.
Discuss one-way streets.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what we can do. We can just put out some fake news and get everybody riled up. There we go.
I'm having PTSD of when mentioning that from my previous municipality.
Oh, well, we had it here. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Beaverton as well.
All right.
You remember.
So moving into 5.4, implement the emergency management operations plan.
Yeah, Chief Tro just messaged me that we just wanted to emphasize that we are actively doing tabletop exercises with partners and will continue to do so.
Okay. Chief Davis.
Former partner.
I think one of the things that we've asked for is to have a training for the city council and the mayor.
Oh.
For the policy group of the plan, because we need to get together and understand what our roles and responsibilities are for policymakers, because it's much different than the operational side.
Stay out of the way.
Stay out of the way. We'll go into a room and they lock the door.
Yeah.
Don't let us out.
It's fact.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Noted.
So is that cross off? We completed this, right?
Is that a completion?
We've implemented the plan, the operation.
With the operational plan, yes.
Yeah.
But we haven't had our training for that plan yet.
So maybe rework the wording to
Instead of implement, just train.
Train the city
council and mayor
council.
training on.
Yeah, because it is, having been on the operational side, it's so important that if the mayor's not available, who's the next one in line? Who's the next one in line to actually sign that disaster declaration to go to the county? You know, and we all have to understand that, because one of us could be the ones, or a group of us could be the ones that are called together to be able to sign that disaster declaration to get it to the county and stuff like that if the mayor's not available.
Who's the designated survivor?
I guess it'd be me. The mayor, if something happens to you, I'm the one that gets called, so.
Well, I was just thinking, like, whenever they do the State of the Union, there's a designated survivor.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea because, one, what you're saying is because, without getting out the whole plan and manual, I have no idea what my role is if there is an emergency. And like I say, probably stay out of the way and do nothing and hide under the table. But I think as elected officials, we do have a role that we should be playing. And to assist and not get in the way. And that's something, practice session would be useful.
Well, it's just, a good example would be the building explosion, right? We all got probably contacted by somebody, right? And I know that Randy did his very best to try to keep us updated so that we could brief the citizens that were calling us, and so just the communication flow on a simple building, I don't want to call it a small building explosion, but a simple building explosion versus, a wildland fire moving towards Canby that we've had.
Right.
And the briefings to the council for what does that mean for the citizens of Canby.
Councilor Patton?
And I don't know if this was covered while I was stepped out. This thought came out of the business that had a catastrophic failure. I had no clue that was there. I had no clue that that building could do such a thing. And based on the information that I have, if that second tank had blown up, it could have been exponentially worse. Because based on what I know of that situation, the roof kept a lot of the problem in the building. And once that was gone, the second tank could have made it way worse. How someone did not die is a frickin' miracle. Do we have a comprehensive list of businesses in this city that have things like that have that potential? With every business in the city, do we know what the worst case scenario could come of failure at that business? To me, not only should we know that, but a range of what that failure looks like should be built into this emergency plan. So that if business A blows up, this is what happens. These are the things we have to do so that it doesn't come as a surprise, not only to the city and its entities, but also to the people who are around that building. I think this, to me, this has brought something to light that I don't know has ever been thought about.
Counselor Davis, do you want to address that?
Yeah, good point. Under the emergency operations plan, there's annexes to the emergency operations plans that you can build in for a potential of that occurring. And there are some other businesses potentially that I know that at least fire has contingency plans for, but those need to be exercised under the annex, under the operational side of the emergency operations plan. Another business potentially surrounded by a residential area and has exposure to hazardous materials. Are you better by keeping the people in the house, reverse 911, keep them in the house and things like that? But those are all things that you exercise as part of the operational side of things under the emergency operations plan. And so when a building like the one that exploded, that was a catastrophic event. It had to go through several steps for something like that to happen. But the building did what it was supposed to do when that occurred. And you're right, had the second tank potentially exploded, it could have been a lot more catastrophic because the structure is now, the roof portion is gone. It was meant to go up and down. And then the second one would have done the same thing. It would have gone up and down. That's why everybody was thinking that there was an earthquake or something when it happened, because of the vibration in the ground and things like that. And at the time that it was built, the Canby Utility Building potentially wasn't there when that particular business went in. So then you have to look at zoning laws in regards to what is allowed to occur in those buildings based upon the zoning restrictions and things like that. So, but to answer your question, yes, there are annexes for exercising those type of. We don't have, I can tell you, my experience and knowledge, we only have a few of those within our city limits, potentially, that could have a catastrophic event.
To me, that is a problem. If there was not an annex for that building, for that business, then there is a missing link.
Yeah, I would agree in exercising the event that if it did happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, obviously, would we do something like that for Starbucks? Probably not.
No.
Like the latte machine blow up, that's not a big deal. But, you know, something like this, like having an inventory of what those businesses are doing, these sort of things and that, I think it's important that we do this, because to be honest with you, I am surprised that after that, there were not more people in the council chamber having a fit about that whole thing.
Well, you realize that one of the biggest potential disasters we have is that railroad that comes through. And if there was a derailment, it'd probably end up maybe the whole town evacuating to some of the things that are on those rail cars. But I think that you're right, on the operational side is where the fire department, you know, deals with that. I'm sure you've had lots of experience dealing with emergencies. When I was on the fire department a long time ago, we did a few of those. And we did some drills into some actual things that happened. And those are all case by case, so case specific. How did it blow up? Did it blow up through the roof, to the side? You know, there's all these things that you can't plan for every option, but there should be some general issues on how to evacuate. I think one of the biggest things that always worried me is it's a remote possibility, but that train, you know, I look at those cars that go through and you can see the symbols, you know how to read the symbols on those tanks. You can say that would be a nice mess if that thing fell off the tracks.
Yeah, and while I was still fire chief, one of the last annexes that we did and trained for was a train derailment in the city of Canby, a fairly significant one. And so we had all the agencies there where we actually did a tabletop on what we would do and how we would do it. You know, so it is something that we train on for, especially train, because you identify your priority hazards, you know, and the train is a priority hazard. You know, the potential of something, you know, in the event that it happens. Some of these other ones, i.e. the building explosion, you know, it was a lower priority because the potential for that to happen had to have many things happen for that to occur. You know, so, and we have drilled another place in town too that has a potential too. I should say they have.
That too, I mean, getting back to our last couple of goal things here, you guys, that maybe is something more on an administrative piece. And I think, is Don still behind me?
Yep.
I mean, is that something that could come up in a pre-app conversation that can identify that there may be those things installed in a business? So I don't know, is that like another check box item within the?
That's a good one for Don.
Well, I know, I don't want to get too out in front of Don, but I know we did inspect that business annually, the one in question. So there's probably others as well Don's probably going to speak to.
And this is a great topical subject. I think part of this, we do have pre-application meetings, and I think it is an important step. Clackamas County, who does our building permit reviews, they're at those pre-application meetings. You know, and again, I think this is everything that I heard, and I'm in agreement with like what Councilor Davis mentioned about this being kind of one that had a lot of steps that built up to it. I think really this is more of a building code issue and a DEQ issue and a fire issue. Not an expert in this area in Oregon, but I have experience in Washington and regarding how these things are done, and I believe there probably are annual inspections by DEQ that look at contaminants and how they're stored and contained. And I believe there are inspections and certification processes for those items. It sounds like there's just a limited number, like maybe just 2 of these, and that might have potential here. But I think largely it is really a building code, fire code, and DEQ issue more so than a zoning code. Because to be clear, I think we don't really have the technical expertise about what we would even be asking for, and unless we ask them to provide a specialist to identify why that is not, why it's meeting all the standards, which I think would be redundant to what the Clackamas County folks are doing through their building fire life safety reviews. And it's something that we definitely can look into. I think there's also the need to have clear and objective standards in zoning as well. And so this is probably one more of the issue about checking with Clackamas County, saying, and I'm happy to talk to the chief building official at the county, saying, what is it that you all do in that process? And we can report back on that, about, how is that? And, what are those inspections? And I mean, I think some of this I think that was an unusual situation, obviously not something that could have been predicted, but I think it is important in the process. I think the pre-app is a checkpoint, and I think the county building department being involved, if they were to give us conditions of approval that they felt were beyond the building code stuff, that could be something we could probably bake into our land use process, but it's something that we're really not technically experts in. So just...
Yeah.
No, just interesting topic for.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don.
Okay.
I'm going to move on to 5.5. Identify community partners to develop a citywide community calendar.
I think Jamie has a note here of some activity with Canby Magazine. Yep. We're got 3 more to go here, so we're trying to hustle. So thanks, Jamie, for helping with some backstory here.
Yes, so we've been working with Active Media that does the Canby Advantage magazine. We have a calendar in there, and we're going to be working with it says local tourism partners, but that also includes, we've been talking to the school district, Canby Fairgrounds, it will include the Canby Chamber, and then tourism partners is like Swan Island Dahlias would be a good example, and others in the area, and then also rolling out this effort to our local businesses at an upcoming business meeting. Sometimes we have issue where we've got free resources. For example, we have a weekly newsletter that goes out that will promote events for free. Sometimes just getting the information can be a challenge, but our goal is to really push it far and wide so that we can make that community calendar, as great as it can be and continue those efforts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie. 5.6, update policies and guidelines for boards and commissions.
In my opinion, 5.6 and 5.7 are both, we identified in the policies and operating guidelines subcommittee meetings that updating these is first going to require updates to the city charter when it comes to how these boards and commissions are actually put together. A lot of the changes that we were considering making to them are governed by the city charter. And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, Council President Hensley and Councilor Davis, that was kind of the gist of what came out of that meeting.
Yeah, it's not a dead issue, it's just kind of on hold until we put the cart behind the horse.
And I noticed, and maybe I missed it, the charter pieces was a goal, but I don't see that in this document, or did I miss it?
I think it was we hit it right at the top.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that,
That's what I get for
upcoming
being
meeting
tardy.
on it, yeah.
Okay,
Good call out.
okay,
Yeah, it was number 1.1.
thanks. We want to touch the parking lot list.
Happy to. I didn't, we didn't add anything as your current staff to this. This is a holdover from when you made these goals in 2025.
Oh.
Okay. Pedestrian AD access to community parks, and what to do with traversal property. That's they stay on the
Just leave them in the parking lot, I guess.
parking lot list for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any further changes to our goals? This was just an update more than anything. It wasn't let's add more. That'll come at a later date. But are we pleased with what we're doing, where we're headed? Do we need more or less from us as a council, or, I mean, even I'd put that to Randy and your team. Are there pieces that you all need from us to help move certain aspects of some of these along if it's needed? Are we being helpful? Are we being a hindrance?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mayor, Council. Very timely too, because we're leading into budget season. We're doing internal budget review with all the departments next week and our finance director. So we have all been here for the last 3 hours taking notes and pivots and priorities. So we're happy with the way the discussion went. I think if I could speak for my staff, and Councilor Davis, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, Randy, that we're giving you what you need going into the budget process. In other words, because I think we've talked about that too in regards to moving the budget process forward so that we're not, then you guys present the budget and we're going, whoa, that's not what we were discussing or anything like that. Is there anything else that we can provide to you going through the budget process?
I think the number that I have staked in the ground and anchoring off of as a North Star for this year's budget is a 20% general fund contingency. That's what I've heard as the marker, and that's what I've directed or asked our finance director to send out to the department heads for internal budget review. So we're building from there, and I don't know what the answer is yet because those meetings are next week.
Okay. Councilor Beck.
I think for me, as far as this goes, next steps on what we did tonight, there was a couple of things that we need to follow up on.
Yep.
So for me, I'd like to see you folks make the changes, clean things up, check off the ones that we've checked and all that stuff to make sure that they are in fact checked off. And then the next process would be reviewing that to make sure that we're all on the same page, and then spending some time hashing out the, like 2 or 3 that need a little more work, and then calling it good.
Can do.
Okay.
We'll send out a revised draft.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, it looks like item 4 is to adjourn. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right. Canby, thank you for watching. Thank you all for the heavy lifting. Directors, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate your input.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah. All right. Good night.